What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of REV Bookshelf. I am Josh alongside the lovely Soul as we break down another book in our extravaganza of books, which is The Third Rule of Time Travel by
Philip Fracassi.
That's exactly right. And this book is deep as much as it is linear. And I'm trying to do I'm country. I don't care. I'm gonna say it the way I say it. But it's a very linear book. It's not as very extravagant as you think when it comes to time travel. Time travel. That's right. I'm gonna be very country today. I don't care. Just deal with it. All right. It's gonna add to the episode. But it is very focused on a certain situation rather than being very broad. When it comes to time travel, which I actually enjoyed. Obviously, we're going to give our non-spoilers before we get to spoilers. And so, non-spoilers, what did you think of the book?
So, I felt that this book, and this is not a criticism, the prose were very simple, so it was a very easy read, and it was done really well. If you're going to do simple prose, there's a way to do it and to get the story. It was fast paced. It was able to go forward in a way. So I enjoyed the way it was written. I also enjoyed short chapters. I'm a girl who loves a short chapter. It makes reading faster.
All right.
At least for me. I might be weird. And then I was enjoying the story, but it was like at the halfway point of the story was like, oh, this shit good. It took a little bit to get to the like, oh, I'm like loving what I'm reading part. But I did get there and I enjoyed the book all the way through. The ending, we'll get to it. I still don't know how I feel about it, but I'm still going to rate this a 4 out of 5 stars just because of how much I was enjoying. And then certain scenes were kind of written with the level of suspense. And then when I looked up the author, he's typically a horror writer. And I'm like, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So those are my non-spoiler thoughts. Do you have any more non-spoiler thoughts?
I love the linear portion of it because of the last books that we've done, other than Trevor Noah's stuff.
Which again, we apologize. We both were sick and we weren't able to hear, but we can talk about it in the Discord. Join down below.
But other fantastical books that we've done, this book was very just in its own world. It wasn't very broad at all. It was not broad at all. It was literally like, here's your 2 settings. Like it almost was like a 12 Angry Men of the, like, here's your typical setting, and then stuff happened. Even though it was a very weird thing of like, because it's time travel, but it's not time travel if you really break it down. But the Beth character is exactly how we would all suspect if this happened to us. So I related to her, even though I'm a dude, but I related to her in everything that just happened to her. And I love that.
And boy, she went through some stuff.
So that I loved. I didn't like the antagonist because I thought it was very paint by numbers antagonist. I thought it was, I love an antagonist where I understood his reason, and I never understood his reason other than just being a dick. And it took me away from that. I love an antagonist who's a dick, but I understand why he's a dick. He's just a dick just to be a dick. And
I think he was a dick because of some of like the motives that you have, that you get like little aspects of it. Like obviously it wasn't shown in the forefront as much, but yeah, there are aspects of his dickishness, and it's like, oh, it makes sense. A rich corporate guy and the reason.
There's a couple of sentences I understand. There's a couple of sentences that he says.
It could have been expanded more. I agree with that.
But I just thought that, again, linear. He was just a paint by numbers billionaire dick at the end of the day. And I thought that they could expand on that a little bit more. But the family aspect of this story is what almost drove me to tears multiple times. Yeah. And that's when I realized this author is really good at what they're doing. Because of the family aspect. Because as a person who has no kids and not to get into spoilers, but the fact of even having something and getting stripped away, and it's not because of life, it's just because of something that I did, that hurt. That got to me in this book. So shout out to the author on that. Not to get, not spoiler, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But that was when I saw the author at their best, was the family aspect and stripping away of the family when it's really not because of the transpiring, but because of what someone did. And we'll get into that in the spoilers.
Consequences of your own actions.
Yes. And I like it, the fact that this story is not really about time travel in a sense, if you really break it down.
Yeah, it's more of the device it's more of the device that's being used. What's the word? The framing of the story is the time travel, but it's not the important part about the story.
It's about family.
Let's get family.
It is.
Let's get into spoiler talk. So we're gonna go through. I've combined some of the chapters again because the chapters were short, and so some of the chapters ran into the others.
We got like 46 chapters, even though each chapter was like 7 pages long.
Some were like 2 or 3 pages.
Right.
Which, like, low key, like, again, I love it because I'm someone who's like, oh, I can read one more chapter. It's only this many pages. If a chapter is long, then I'm like, oh, I won't pick the book up right now.
And also, for all those who are watching, was the reason we love doing this show is because I do the audio and she reads it. So you get both perspectives.
And sometimes I do the audio. Trevor, no, I did the audio because, got to hear that beautiful, sultry voice, right? But going through, so we have a prologue. This book opens with a plane crash and the 3 rules of time travel. Rule number 1, travel can occur only at destination points during the previous lifetime of the traveler. These destination points are random. Rule number 2, the traveler has only enough energy to maintain contact with the arrival world for approximately 90 seconds. And rule number 3, the traveler has no ability to interact with the world they have traveled to. The traveler can only observe. Thoughts on the prologue?
So it felt it felt like someone's deeping into your consciousness, because you can't go to somebody else. You have to go within your time, like your mental time frame. And you can't go around that. So I'm thinking, okay, this book's going to be like, oh, we're going to go across that. By the way, spoiler alert. We're going to go into that. It didn't. It kept within the rules, but then the rules went away from that because of the transgressions that happened in the book. But as far as these 3 things, is like you have to stick with when you time travel, you're going to go in your consciousness. So it's just like regurgitating memories in a sense. And this is a very different thing that we think of. Obviously we think of
time travel going through a portal.
Right. Back to the Future, in-game, all that junk.
Yeah.
This very much of, you're going to go through your consciousness, but you're going to relive it as vibrant as possible. It's not a dream. It is real life.
Yeah. So, because like sometimes with memory, like you're not going to remember every detail. In this sense, you're going back and every detail is clear. So you're reliving it. It's not just a memory of the event. What I liked is this was like immediate action in the first chapter. Well, prologue, but in the first part of the book. And I was like, ooh, we're starting another book that has a very strong beginning. Like Blood Over Brighthaven.
Very detailed. Yeah, Blood Over Brighthaven. We're like, man, that was very detailed. And then this story, I'm like, damn, guys, you just keep picking, like, these prologues are just like, damn. We're just hurt. The fact of her sister just.
Oh, man. Yeah. And the fact, too, that we don't really ever get into something that it was brought up of, like, maybe they're creating the events that's going on. And I'm like, ooh, in a certain timeline or a certain area, is her family alive? But we never really went into that other than her direct husband and child. But anyways, we'll get to that.
Right. I never thought that. The husband and child stuff, I did.
Yeah. I thought this only because it opened with that.
Right.
So
yeah, no, that makes sense. But I just never was like, this was the Blood Over Brighthaven was a little bit different. I
yeah,
felt like
definitely.
It was, but this one was like, this is just setting you up for, okay, just the mental capacity of where time travel takes you.
Yeah. And then so again, where I said combining, so chapter 1, 2. We meet Beth, the girl whose POV it was of the plane crash in the prologue, and who is now widowed mother, and her 4-year-old daughter Isabella, and the nanny Marie Elena. Which the entire time I was reading this, I wanted to keep saying Maria Elena, because that's easier to say than Marie Elena.
Yeah.
But we also see where Beth works the Langen Corporation, and as she goes to work that day, her co-worker Jerry is being escorted out of the building. Jerry blames Beth, saying her ridiculous machine is sucking the rest of the employees dry and that she'll be next. We then meet Beth's assistant Tariq and learn that she revealed the plane crash the previous day with her machine. They are trying to find what drives the target arrival points, which currently seem random. Tariq tells Beth that Langen dissolved the entire neural prosthetics division, which means 60 people are out of a job. And then at the end of chapter 2, Beth drops her favorite coffee mug, breaking it, which then it seemed like it broke, but then later in the book, she has it again, and I was like, wait a second. But anywho, it was like a line, and I was like, did the author forget, or is this to show that they're in a different timeline? A mug from a trip to Hawaii, the last trip her and her family took together, and she is overwhelmed with emotion and has some pretty toxic internal thoughts about herself for showing emotion in front of her assistant. So thoughts on Beth's workplace and her situation: dead family, dead husband, single mom.
It's a Fortune 500 type thing of, what have you done for me lately? And also a workaholic. That's what Beth was. This is what we understood, is she is a workaholic. We learned later about her being a wife, and everything. And like, we hear every time of she would work countless hours and just miss a lot of her daughter situation, because she cared more. Like, we hear this all the time. You're married to your work rather than your life. And it sucks when it's that way, and not the other way around. Now, some people are okay with it.
A lot of times too, people who are okay with it in present time, later in life, they go, they were like, oh, I shouldn't have been that way. Yeah. Like, I can't get that time back with my family. So,
right. And a lot of, and in this, throughout this book, the author, because it's from Beth's perspective, the author is basically just pushing your work is not more than your family. That's kind of like the overarching thing. I know we're in chapter 1 and 2, but that is the overarching thing that I got, is your life is not more than your family. Or your
and
work
perspective changes too.
Right.
And we get to chapter 3, 4. We learn that Beth and her late husband Colson sold their technology to Jim Langen, agreeing to come on board as project managers. We meet Jonathan, a clinical psychologist that all employees are required to meet weekly. Terry, Langen's in-house MD that all employees are required to meet monthly, and Abigail, who is technically Beth's direct boss, but who has never shown interest in her work and is the signature of all the financial requests for the lab. Beth is there to debrief on the time travel she did the day before. We also learn we are in the year 2044. Beth has to go through the video from her POV of the plane crash. We learn that if eyes are flickering between their normal eye color and pure white, that is the only way to know if someone is traveling inside a past version of themselves. And then Jonathan requests a full psychological examination before she is allowed to travel again, and Terry requests a full exam to see if Beth shows any signs of physical trauma. It will be noteworthy as to how straining the conscious can impact the body. Beth tells them off, saying, my husband has similar experiences when traveling, and I don't recall a rush for brain scans or demands of colonoscopies being thrown around, so allow me to repeat, I'm fine. And then she walks out without permission. So thoughts on the debriefing of her time travel and the plane crash, and thoughts on the new characters we meet.
For one, Coulson never told Beth, obviously knowing now, going through the whole book, but this chapter reminded me of, like, looking back at it, is like Coulson kept things from her, and Jonathan, and he didn't know, and he didn't tell Jonathan that he kept things from her. So what he's doing is the precautionary things of what happened to Coulson, and she, honestly, we're going to get through it in chapter 5.
Yeah, but even in this, Jonathan has no idea what Coulson went through. He only knows that, like, he died in the car accident. So I wouldn't even put that as a part of, like, oh, we didn't help Jonathan, we didn't help Coulson, so therefore we need to help you now. Like, there's not really that connection.
Okay, I get that, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it just
I can understand that. But I don't think it's out of guilt or anything. I think it's truly out of, like, he cares for her and wants her to be okay.
Yeah. Jonathan is a character we both thought were good. Anyway,
Jonathan, you sus, but then you have a good heart. I still am angry at you for a few parts, but we'll get to it. Tyreek Hill, he's in this book.
Is that how you pronounce it? I thought it was Tyreek.
I pronounce it Tariq, but
it was pronounced Tyreek in the audiobook. Again, that's why I do audiobook and she reads. So
yeah. Although sometimes audiobook narrators will pronounce things correctly, and sometimes, like, the author's like, no, they pronounced it wrong, but it is what it is.
She pronounced it.
Also, we have different accents, like linear and linear.
You get the full spectrum here.
Full spectrum here. Chapter 5, Jonathan chases her out of the room and tries to tell Beth that they aren't being sexist. They just want to make sure she's okay. Beth says that she survived it when she was 12. She is more than capable of surviving it now as an adult. Jonathan says that if he or Terry sees something they don't like, they will recommend she halt traveling and may suggest someone else travel. Beth responds, over my dead body. I'll tear the fucking thing down before that happens without my consent. Jonathan says, you're overreacting. You need perspective, which I was like, side note, terrible thing for a therapist to say. You're overreacting. Beth responds, Coulson would have never allowed that, and neither will I. And then Jonathan responding, you're trying to impress a dead man. And that's when I utterly said, what an asshole. Yeah. And Beth responds, fuck you, John. So thoughts on Beth and Jonathan's interaction here?
No, at the time I was like, yeah, fuck you, John. Like, she knows the machine. She should know the limits. She's the one that created it with Coulson. Obviously later on, I'm like, he's trying to keep her from going crazy, in a sense, like later on. But in this situation, like, what does Jonathan know about the machine? Like,
I don't think Jonathan knows anything. I think Jonathan is more of like, I just want her to be okay because she's going through traumatic experiences.
He cares. You can tell he cares, but in this chapter, he was just. It felt like he came across as, like, restraining her, rather than.
In a lot of moments, he's coming across more as a friend than a therapist. Like, there's times when there is the therapist speak, but there's moments of like, oh, you're doing this as a friend, which is not conducive to what a therapist should be doing in this moment.
Right. But yeah, the chapter 5 was like, I feel like you're going down the wrong path. And she's like, F you, you don't know me.
And we have chapter 6. When Beth gets back to her lab, Jim Langan is there. He tells her that he is worried about her, and she tells him that her quota of overprotective men has been filled for the day, which I loved that line. Also, fuck Jim. We'll get to why. But from the beginning, I was like, this guy ain't it. Jim tells her that on Monday she will be doing a one-on-one interview in her lab with a reporter. Jim reassures her that the reporter, her magazine, and the conglomerate that owns the magazine has signed enough NDAs to wallpaper office, and that he handpicked the reporter and that she's a ringer. Which Beth goes, a ringer for what, Jim? Are you selling? And he answers, no, but I suppose you could say that a capital infusion might be beneficial to everyone's. Beth realizes that the old fucker's out of money. Jim outright tells her that it's a fluff piece and that maybe it will get the board to loosen the purse strings. So thoughts on the first introduction of Mr. Langan?
I mean, it's a typical billionaire that like seems like he's on your side, but at the end of the day, he's in for himself.
And the money.
Yeah. So like that's my first impression. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, he's making me feel warm. Oh, that's the point. Okay, never mind. F this guy. Like I literally listen to the audiobook. I'm like, oh, he comes across as a person who like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, no, you're investing in this to make money.
Yeah.
As any other, spare no expense type of thing.
Yeah. So. And it's one where like the money over humanity over lives over decency.
We'll get to later.
Yeah. So chapter 7-8, we have a sweet moment with Beth and her daughter watching an old video that has her husband in it. We also get a replay of Coulson's first ever time travel, and we learned that they used to have a lot of assistants and that most of them left after Coulson died, thinking she couldn't finish the work, and the rest, other than Tariq, were let go due to budget cuts. What would they all have thought it would told them the truth? The machine was initially my project, my idea. That was my formulas and theories that created time travel. So there's a lot of like stigma that she's holding because everything is kind of given to her husband and she's the sidekick when it was like her idea and they were partners on it and they worked together. So it's kind of like a 50-50, but it's like she's getting zero of the credit and her husband's getting all the credit and she's kind of salty about that. And then in the video, Beth asks Coulson what it was like to be the first ever time traveler in history, and he answers that he felt like God. Coulson goes on to say, what this project reveals, what it revealed to me only moments ago, is that humans are made up of memories. It's the constitution of who we are. Our minds hold the reflection of billions of lives, infinite parallel worlds, but only fate can decide what of those we are allowed to see and touch. Past Beth says the machine decides where to go, and Coulson challenges Beth by saying, what if it is them who decides? Do you agree with Coulson?
Yeah, this is a weird chapter because I don't know if I agree, but I don't disagree at the same time because we don't know. Yeah. It's still the mystery. Even with this book, and as much as they try to paint it, as much as Philip tries to paint what time travel is supposed to be, we still don't know. So is Coulson right? We don't know.
Would you say in the grand scheme of things, not outside of this book, but in the real world, are humans made up of memories? Do you agree or don't know or disagree with him in like a real world setting?
I mean, to me, like my memories are what shape me. Right. So I would agree with that as far as personally. But also, how do we know history's right unless we go back in time and see it? Type of thing. So, but as far as what he's, but as far as the linear, yes, I'm gonna say it a lot in my country voice. As far as what Coulson's saying, like as far as it's basically just our memories are what shape our lives, and what keep us the memories we suppress or the memories we keep. And this book did both of those. Yeah. Type of thing, which is what I really liked. So, do I agree with Coulson? I don't know because, I wish I had a deeper thought to that, but no. Do I disagree with Coulson? No. Like all I know is what I've lived and what I've remembered.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even with like linear. This book is like, if you're thinking of like a timeline of like we're going day after day after day, and that is linear, but the concepts, especially in the later chapters, kind of aren't linear.
No,
they're not.
Yeah. I'm talking about the story and the characters. Like, there's not of the books that we've done where there's like a city and like all this other stuff, or there's multiple timelines. Like, that's very vast.
Like this, like low key, I think it's like a week.
Yeah,
that we're with them, these characters.
Yeah. Because Coulson traveled 7 times within multiple weeks, and she's doing it like 7 times within, like you said, like 2 weeks. So
yeah, 3 times. Yeah, I think
something like that.
But yeah, because I think the day that she goes into work and Jerry is being booted out is like a Friday, and so then she has the weekend, and then that Monday onwards is with the reporter, and that's the week, and she goes twice through the machine
right
in that week.
Yeah,
where she had like just on, was it Friday or Thursday the day before? Yeah, Thursday she traveled, and then Tuesday she traveled, and then like it's like Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, 3 times in very short succession.
Very short succession.
But chapter 9, the park with daughter, best friend Lucy, and her son Timothy, which Lucy and Timothy felt like unneeded characters in this book, and Lucy, especially in the second time she shows up, like really annoyed me. She's kind of annoying in this too. Like,
this is where the Lanier thing happened, because this was so poorly written to me, of Lucy and her son and everything. Like, I understood why in the later chapters, but it also led me to my favorite quote in the whole damn book, which is "Time travel, bitch." That's my favorite quote in the whole damn book, where she's hung up, where Beth is hung over the shit, and she's like, "Fuck it, time travel, bitch," and Lucy's like, "Really? That's what it is?" Like, she didn't even. I know we're jumping ahead, but I love that when she just does that. When Beth is just at her wits' end and just beaten to death.
We'll get there. But yeah, Lucy to me was a badly written character, and kind of like just there so that way she has a friend, and also there so that way she can go to the park and kind of be ostracized in the first part, and then like be remembered that she was ostracized before because she was ostracized again. Anywho, so as Beth runs to get coffee for her and Lucy, she sees Coulson standing near the end of the fence line of the park watching their daughter. Beth yells out Coulson's name multiple times, and then Lucy comes to her and says, "Beth, what the hell?" When Beth points to where Coulson was, he vanished. And then this is what I was just like, oh yeah, only 90 seconds worth of traveling. Like, I was just like, he's traveling. And we learn later, now he's kind of is, but not through the machine. And then Lucy thinks Beth is going crazy and like tries to calm her down, but kind of like looks at her friend like, you cray, which again, I felt like, oh, if this is your best friend and like your friend's husband died a year ago and on your birthday, kind of like, I feel like you would be a little bit kinder to your friend than the way she was treating her in this chapter. But your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, Lucy's not that great of a character. This is the moment where I kind of like chuckled to myself. I'm like, oh, we're getting to that quantum manium level of she sees Coulson traveling because she's traveled, and no one else can see it because only those two who have done or have been hooked up to the machine can consciously see time.
And yeah, it's,
and also Ryan said greed pushes up the schedule. So
yeah, definitely. And then we go chapter 10. Beth emailed Jonathan Sunday night to ask for an impromptu session. And she's kind of putting that, like, even though she like gets mad at Jonathan sometimes, like she still trusts him and believes in the doctor-patient confidentiality. We'll get into that later. That he's never betrayed her before. he will in the future. Jonathan tells her that it wasn't strange that she saw her husband and was much kinder to her about that as well, which I was like, her friend should have been kinder as well. But anywho, we find out that Coulson died on Beth's birthday. Like I was said earlier, Jonathan lays out her stressors. 1, we both know you're under a tremendous amount of strain. 2, your staff has been reduced to practically nothing, and you're essentially doing the work of half a dozen people. 3, you've lost not only your husband, but your partner in one of the most important scientific endeavors in human history. 4, you're raising a beautiful little girl who, let's not forget, is also dealing with grief of losing a parent, albeit in her own way. 5th and last, you're literally experimenting on yourself with this machine, and just a few days ago, you blasted your mind back into time to re-experience the most tragic moment of your life. Beth, when you add all this up, it's no wonder your mind is showing you phantom images of your deceased husband. Your subconscious is being battered by wave after wave of trauma. It's grasping at straws for help, for support. And this is when I was like, oh, he's back in my good graces. And even though this is not why she saw him, it is still true in the real world of why you might see someone. And that way you should be kind to yourself when you're going through that grief. So I was just like, ooh, this is written well. This is very much what a therapist should be saying. So again, we go back and forth with Jonathan. He tells her that he believes in her and that he is here for her and that he considers her a friend. And that's when I was just like, ooh, therapist shouldn't be your friend. And so, again, back and forth. He continues on saying it's simply your internal self's way of telling the outside you, the focused on work you, that it's hurting. Let yourself mourn. Hell, let yourself feel a little crazy. I mean, sometimes repressing these natural emotions in stressful times can do more harm than good. Let yourself be sad, cry in the pillow at night, spend time with Isabella, looking at old pictures from happier times, and be cognizant to let her mourn as well. And then Jonathan then prescribes her some medication. So thoughts on this therapy session?
I mean, like you were saying, like it seemed like as a therapist, he went through your typical, like you're going through grief. Of course, you're going to see him type thing. Like you said, it seemed like he was more getting, it seemed like he liked her in a sense.
As a friend, yeah.
As a friend. But this was even as a person who's gone through some therapy in my life, a lot of times when your therapist tells you some things, you're going to fight back at it.
Yeah.
And she did, because as anyone would.
Accept things.
Yeah. But what he said is exactly, as a reader,
yeah,
like, yeah, you're definitely going through that. So
if this was a contemporary travel that made it sense that her husband would be there, then this is exactly a perfect thing to say and would be true.
Right.
It's just the fact that we're in a time travel novel that it's not true at the moment.
Yeah, like anyone would want to see their loved one and say that they saw their loved one.
Yeah.
That they're missing. So, like, it's your grief.
Yeah.
Like, so what on this session? Yeah, I was thinking like maybe John, because as a reader, you're thinking it's time travel. So I'm thinking like, oh yeah, through time travel and stuff. Obviously, she's seeing Coulson because he's stuck in some in between shit. But as a therapist, I thought Jonathan did this right. Other than I thought he was kind of attracted to her for some reason.
I didn't get the attracted to her at all in this, but
I don't know. I'm just so used to rom-coms and like the third guy.
Are you saying that if a guy is nice to you, then he likes you? There's no
not necessarily, nice but most of the time of the books and movies that we see, the third guy that's nice to you is typically into you.
And then we go chapter 11-12. We get the interview with the reporter Chiyo Nakata, and through it get the exposition on how the machine works. We also finally learn how her husband died. Car accident. We also learned that it takes at least a month to recover from the traveling process. Beth also reveals that her husband was the most spiritual of the two of them, and that he'd like to think it was the soul that traveled through the wormhole, not a bunch of recorded electromagnetic waves, and that he would often say that they were screwing with the natural order of things, that they were pissing off God. As Beth is escorting Chiyo out of the building, Chiyo asks if she could ask Beth something off the record. Chiyo notices that the building is like a ghost town with massive amounts of security. The parking lot is half full at best. And aside from the gorillas with guns at the entrance, I haven't seen a soul except you and Tariq. Beth assures that all the labs are separate and that everything that happens is proprietary and top secret. Chia responds saying Langland hasn't had a hit in a decade at least, and the massive failure of his light propulsion tech hit the company hard, which would explain his eagerness for her to succeed. I mean, come on, what would possibly grab bigger headlines than time travel? Chia lets Beth know she's coming back the next day to watch her travel, and Beth's like, what? And so she marches into Jim's office pissed. She reminds Jim that she just traveled and needs to go through the recovery process, and tells her that she won't be the one traveling. Beth tells Jim that no one goes through the wormhole but her. Jim tells her that someone will be traveling and that the board will be there as well. He could have informed her earlier, I feel, but he doesn't because he's the bad guy. And being disrespectful, basically. Jim yells enough in rage, and Beth tells him, you don't want to piss me off, Jim. I might suddenly get very, very stupid. We also get don't threaten me, Beth, and a don't fuck with me, Jim. Jim then tells her that he needs this and she needs this too, and that if they don't get more funding, she'll be done before the end of the year. Jim then tells her that he gives her the power to choose who travels, and she basically chooses herself. So thoughts on the interview, both on the record and off of it, and thoughts on the back and forth with the CEO.
The CEO is your typical. That's the thing that I didn't like about this book is the CEO. Is he's such a paint by numbers. Oh, I'm your friend now, and then I'm going to be a dick later, and everyone's going to hate me. I just want a little bit more layered to my antagonist, and I could just see this from a mile away. So that's my one gripe about this book as the antagonist, is because I felt like he could be more layered, and he wasn't. He was just I'm your friend, and then later on the book, oh yeah, I just want this for myself because I'm a greedy asshole.
Yeah,
and I just felt like there was nothing there. I felt there was more. I bought into Chiyo being like, oh, I'm gonna do a fluff piece, and I'm asking all the right questions and all this other stuff. And then you find out, no, she's gonna bury you.
Yeah, and I would even say more that Chiyo was interesting because she came in to do a fluff piece, and then we'll get to later that it ends up being, but I don't think she's trying to bury her out of malice or anything. She
came back too. She came back. It's
not,
why.
And she even says that Beth is hit Jim's best asset, and so like it seems that she like her own humanity is seeing humanity in Beth and not wanting Beth to suffer just because of that, not in a different reason from Jonathan, who like Jonathan actually like cares about her as a person because they're friends. But I don't hate the CEO character. Because you understand like it's greed, it's money, it's this, and like so like his character made complete and total sense to me, and he wasn't one-dimensional because of that. There's certain aspects of him that like even at the end, when we get to the end, like there's this is entertaining, let me see what happens. Like he could have stopped it early. So like there's facets to his character, and we could have gotten more from him, but there's facets to his character that make him interesting, that is more than just like, I'm a rich CEO bad guy.
Yeah, but what Ryan was saying, like I like a layered guy.
Yeah, definitely. The professor in Blood Over Brighthaven is a much better
Spoiler alert, Blood Over Brighthaven is way better than this book. Just
I mean, yeah, for Blood Over Bright Haven so far is my favorite book this year that I've read.
Oh yeah, that's no. Yes.
And I've read more books than you. Yes.
Yes. As far as our book club is concerned, Blood Over Bright Haven is the best book. Dungeon Crawler Carl is my favorite, but as far as the best written character wise, Blood Over Bright Haven is it. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the third.
But so like with the CEO, I don't have as much like I guess animosity for his character as you do because I get it, and also I would have liked him to see him get his comeuppance more at the end, which again it goes to the like I don't know how I feel about the end, but because if it was more of a paint by numbers, he would have gotten his comeuppance.
True,
and he doesn't.
But he doesn't because we got the Coen Brothers ending. And if he kept up with Coen Brothers films, it's the Coen Brothers ending was like, well, that happened, type of thing. Like it was okay. I'm not gonna get the ending. We're not there yet. But what I felt about the ending, but just the CEO. As soon as he turned, I'm like, I saw it from this chapter where he just like it felt like he's on your side, and then he's not because all he cares about is this is mine. I pay for all this. Blah, blah, blah.
I saw from the beginning. You see it immediately,
and that's why it's not because it's not a good antagonist because he is. It's just the fact that there's nothing different than what I've seen multiple times.
I think for me, it does. Him being the bad guy doesn't hinder the story.
No.
And
I'll give you that.
Also, he in some aspects, because like he immediately seems swarmy, and then in the middle of the book, there's times where you're like, oh, like, am I wrong about him? Like, I immediately was like, oh, Tariq is not going to be good, and then I was wrong about him. Jonathan, you're going back and forth with him, and you're like, well, I was kind of wrong about him, not completely because he did betray her, but he's still a good guy at the end. Whereas the CEO, there's moments in the book that you're like, oh, wait a second, like, and that would have been better probably written if it was like a subversion of tropes if he actually wasn't the bad guy, but that he seemed super swarmy at the beginning. But there was moments of like that I was like, oh, is it gonna subvert? And the fact that there was those moments, I think, make him more than just two-dimensional, right? In my eyes.
And to me, like that's why I like Jonathan and Tyreek's character better because you didn't know where they were gonna go. And Tyreek, you can tell, like as soon as Tyreek was revealing stuff, or like, and she was like, "Why the fuck would you? Why would you keep this from me?" He was like, "Well, because blah blah blah." Yeah, and Jonathan.
And we'll get to those. We'll get to those. We're still in chapter 13. So, chapter 13. Beth meets with Jerry for dinner. He apologized for what he said on his last day, and Beth tells him that he is forgiven. And that she would have blowtorched the place if that happened to her. So like she's like, yo, I would have bombed the freaking place. So like you're fine. Like she seemed very scorched earth sometimes in this book. Jerry wanted to meet with her to warn her about Jim. So again, we're getting a little bit more about like just Jim being the bad guy. And then Jerry saying like, I know how to get into this building without Jim knowing. I'm going to get my intellectual property back. Gonna fuck Jim. So, like, thoughts on this meeting with Jerry?
Jerry is a paranoid schizophrenic. Not schizophrenic, but he's a very paranoid guy who has been wronged.
I mean, he ended up being right with everything.
No, he was. But I'm saying when he was presented in this chapter, he seemed like just a paranoid dude who was just like, hey, the CEO is bad, which we've heard a million times. Like, oh, the CEO is bad. He's out for his own good. And as soon as he gets what as soon as he, drains you from what you're worth, then he's going to kick you to the curb. And of course, so early in the book, you're like, oh, maybe not. Yeah, he is.
When we got this very early in the book, I was just like, either they're telling us from the very beginning, bad guy,
Right.
or this is being used to subvert the trope.
Which to me, this was more
and
the
it was
publisher.
column A.
Right. To me, this was more the publisher because we're so used to beats when it comes to books or movies or anything of that nature. When it comes to storytelling, you're thinking you're not going to introduce that the guy we thought was bad is bad at the beginning, are you?
Early, yeah.
This early, right? No, we are. Yeah, exactly. And so we're questioning Jerry the whole time because we're like, there's no way Jim could be the main antagonist. No, he is. And that's why I go back to Jim's characters, because it's like he's just the evil bad guy, and there's
hey, but sometimes you just need an evil bad guy in the story.
I know, but I just want I want a little bit more.
You want a little bit more complex. You want a little bit morally gray. I get it. Yeah. Chapter 14, Beth has a nightmare and wakes up in her daughter's bed. She had fallen asleep telling her a bedtime story. As she leaves her daughter's room, Isabella tells her that she has nightmares too, and that sometimes she sees Daddy in her dreams. That sometimes she dreams that he's in her room watching her sleep. Beth tells her that it's nice that she sees Daddy in her dreams, and Isabella responds, but I'm not asleep. When I see him, I mean, I'm only pretending, and it's not in a dream. He stands right there. And kind of Beth, in her own trauma, is really not listening to her daughter here. And it's like, that's nice, honey. Good night. And you see later in the story that she holds back telling her mom because her mom didn't take her seriously in this chapter about it. So your thoughts?
This is when the book took off for me. Is because we're like, oh, you're getting the different, this is where the multiverse type stuff comes in because of the time travel that she did. So her mind is in between multiple timelines that we've realized is what's happening when you time travel, even though it's linear. Again, linear is our buzzword for this book, mainly because Soul said I sound funny when I say it. So
you're just using the word even in sometimes like inappropriate moments just to say linear.
This is the inconceivable portion of the show. Yeah, I don't think that word means what you think it means, but I'm going to say it. I don't care. But this is where the book took off for me because I'm like, oh, okay. I think Beth is between different realms of what her life should have been. And Isabel is also seeing Coulson. So either Coulson is stuck in between worlds, like the quantum medium, like what Ant-Man did, like the quantum realm, which is like stuck in between worlds, or what's happening to Beth, which we later on figure out. So this is when the book really took off in that, all right, we're about to get in some very science fiction shit.
And we get the answer at the end of the book that like it's more of the previous of like it's him inserting himself instead of it's because like Isabella's able to see. So it kind of like at first I was agreeing with you when it was at the park. I was like, maybe she can see him because she's traveled. Kind of like Harry Potter, like him and Luna can see the horses because they've seen death, but no one else can. Right. And then after the Battle of Hogwarts, kind of like everyone could see the horses, which was kind of sad. Ryan, linear, drink for me.
Oh boy, I'm gonna get you drunk before you come on live.
But yeah, when it got to this point, I was like, oh, Isabella can see it. So there's something else going on. That's why I said here.
That's when the book took off.
Yeah. And so I was just like, I'll wait to see what's going on. Chapter 15 is Beth comes to work. She actually takes notice of the cars in the parking lot and notices that there are less than there used to be. Mm-hmm. She also notices that near the building entrance, there are a cluster of emergency vehicles, police cars, life support unit, and an ambulance. There is a line of employees at the entrance, and instead of just showing their IDs and continuing into the lobby, each employee is first being frisked, patted down, and bags and purses opened and rummaged through by armed security personnel. Beth notices that some employees look annoyed, some angry, and many look scared. Beth gets in line with Tariq after he points it out. She notices on the sidewalk just outside the lobby doors, splayed on the pavement like a broken doll, is a body with a white sheet covering it. The body is Jerry, and the guard on duty shot him 3 times as he ran from the lobby, one in the back, and then when Jerry spun around, maybe to give himself up, who knows, he got another in the chest, a third in the head. And then this was when I was just like, oh, they like straight up murdered him. Like, we've been having description of these security guards and that they're like athletic and large. And like, I was like, and Jerry's an old man. I was like, they could have easily apprehended him, but they were like, nah, kill shot. So thoughts on the death of Jerry?
You realize that Jim is the rule and he has jurisdiction over everyone.
Yeah.
So at least in the year 2044, I believe, something like that. So, and they really know, again, drink grind, because of the linear story that we're in, we don't really get what the policing is of this world.
Conceivable. Exactly. And I think that's part of the two with, they put it in the future, so far in the future that we're like, oh, we don't know what the laws are.
No. And it was never told.
Yeah.
So, and the guards don't even question Jim. Like, if Jim says shoot, as we know later on in the chapters, when Jim says shoot, they will shoot.
Yeah.
There's no questioning or anything. They will do whatever Jim tells them to do. And Jerry went off on like a typical, like the chapter 4 where he was like, the typical, like, they're all out to get you, crazy person. And then this next chapter, he's dead. And and the way it's described, like you said, like they could have easily just kicked him off the campus. No, they're just going to kill him. Yeah. So what was Jerry stealing to make them not doing that? Or was this also a foreshadowing of the power that Jim wields?
Yeah. And part of it too is just like he was gone so quickly.
Yeah, I didn't like that either. There's the fact of like, we just introduced to Jerry. Jerry like put the thoughts in Beth's mind, and now Jerry's dead.
Yeah, and then like literally the following day, Jerry's dead.
Right.
But then also it speaks to just, I guess, in a devil's advocate, it speaks to just like, you never know when the end's going to be. It could be just that quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But chapter 16, and this is kind of like the viewing day for Chio and the board. And we're going back and forth between what Beth is seeing and then also what's happening in the room with everyone else, because we have now more perspectives of people in the room. And so Jim notices that the board has a lack of enthusiasm and it irks him. And this is really, if you didn't know he was evil, this is the moment where, like, in this chapter, I was like, bad guy, ego. Yeah. Chio asks Jonathan how he feels about Beth traveling again so soon, and isn't there typically a longer processing and recovery time between trips? Jim asks her who told you that? Like, basically. And she ignores him with her eyes leveled on Jonathan, and then Jim tells Jonathan not to answer her and tells her that she is not authorized to question anyone on the platform except for him, and then later she can have a Q&A with Beth. Only one of the guests seems perturbed as they are about to start, Jonathan. So, and this is where I was just like, maybe Jonathan is a good guy. Like, he seems like really worried. And Beth is taken back to her birthday from a year ago, which was the day her husband dies. And alarms start going off. Beth's heart rate is spiking, and what she's experienced is raising her vitals. Jim asks Terry's opinion, and like the physician's like, she's good. And then Jonathan looks at the timer, features strained with worry, and says he's going to go down to where Beth is. So, and then I was picturing in my mind, I'm like, oh, is this one of the where like they're higher up and she's down? And I was trying to picture the room when he's like, I'm going to go down to her. I was like, oh, are they like raised? What did you think? How'd you picture the room?
Most boardrooms, they have like 5 levels to, or like a meeting room where it's like the main person's talking, and there's the like a boardroom where like a lot
This
of
is not a
NFL
boardroom.
teams.
This is a lab.
A lab? Oh
Yeah.
gosh, because that's what I was picturing it as, like a typical
Yeah.
like yeah,
And
I
I
don't
was
know.
thinking maybe like it's that at the bottom, and then like it's raised up, like raised seating.
Maybe
But I was trying to picture
maybe like the Blood Over Brighthaven, where everyone's like watching the person doing stuff.
Maybe. And Jonathan looks at the timer, features strained with worry, and he says he's going down to see Beth. Back in Beth's memory, Coulson forgets the campaign and says there's a liquor store. The champagne. I wrote campaign, or I wrote champagne so wrong that it autocorrected to campaign.
Well, Isabella did pop champagne at one point in the book, so.
So Coulson forgot the champagne and says there's a liquor store 5 minutes away and he'll be right back. He leans in and kisses her quickly, and that is the last time she saw him alive. Beth's vitals keep spiking, and Jonathan tells Jim that they need to get her out. Jim looks to Terry again, and Terry's like, she's good. The alarm goes off again, and Jonathan says her vitals are hitting dangerous levels, neural activity spiking across the board, and that she is having a panic attack. And then back in the memory, Beth tells Coulson not to go and not to worry about it, but he says she's earned it and that he will be back in a jiffy. Coulson meets her eyes, and for a moment he looks confused. A tear slips from the corner of her eye, and Beth knows in the past that did not happen. He says, "Happy birthday," the concern wiped from his face as he was never there, and smiles at her for the last time as the elevator door slides closed. As the timer winds down to 0, Beth opens her eyes and screams as she strains against the restraints. Jonathan rips away the restraints and electrodes attached to her and holds her as she sobs. And then Jim turns to the audience with a smile and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I give you time travel." So thoughts on the chapter and Jim risking Beth both physical and mental health.
This is just of Jim just being the typical antagonist that just like, yeah, all he cares about is making money and making money off of things that other people created, but because he funded it, he takes all the credit. I don't know. This is still just a paint by numbers douchebag. I cared more about the whole thing that Beth was seeing Coulson and her birthday, and so we were thinking. Yeah. And the reason I liked it is because she's like, oh, it's her birthday, and she thinks she sees Coulson before. So is it because of her time traveling, or because she's just grieving, right? It's her birthday, so all she thinks about is Coulson on her birthday, and not the fact that she's living multiple timelines at the same time. And then you have Jim being a douchebag. So. Like that's where I took from this is her, because it's all from her perspective. So it was weird. It
kind of like this book kind of switches around because it's not completely third person, it's not completely first person. It kind of like goes back and forth because you're getting perspectives of other people.
It's very Beth oriented though.
But it is very Beth oriented. I would agree with that. And Ryan says, "I pictured Captain America, Steve Rogers serum test as the room layout."
I saw that. I'm like, okay, that puts me in the room.
Yeah. And chapter 17-18, Jim quickly rushed the visitors into the elevator while Jonathan and Terry took an inconsolable Beth to her office. Terry gave her an injection of a mild tranquilizer and left her in Jonathan's care, which, like, he seems like the worst doctor to me. It's just like, and then like just inject her. She's fine.
To me right now, I know what your question is. This was a chapter I'm like, Jonathan's going to just lobotomize her at this point. And he didn't. Just this is where I was with you on. Jonathan's an asshole, just wants to lobotomize her because he doesn't want to deal with the controversy.
But I'm not even talking Jonathan now. Terry's worse.
Yeah.
The MD. But Beth confesses
at the end of the whole thing, I feel bad for Abigail.
For real. Beth confesses to Jonathan that she'd lied to him about her first time travel trip she had 6 months prior. Her uncle picked her up early from prom, but she never gave the real reason why. It was because her grandfather just suffered a massive heart attack and was gone before she got to the hospital, and he was kind of the man who essentially raised her. Beth then pours herself some Jack Daniels, which I was just like, girl, you need it.
This was a chapter also, I'm like, here comes the alcoholism, because she's gone through so much shit. Why did it take us 18 chapters to get to her being alcoholic?
And this is not even her worst. Later with the 2 bottles of wine.
Time travel, bitch.
The 3 times she has traveled, it has been to moments when a loved one has died, and she starts to think that her husband might have been right, that she is messing with God. Coulson traveled 7 times, and none of his arrivals points were negative. Jonathan asks if maybe the machine is reading Beth's strongest, most emotional memories, targeting the brightest star in her universe. At home, Beth contemplates letting someone else travel, but her and her husband agreed early on that until they knew more about the impacts of traveling, both personal and scientific, it would only be one of them that would travel. Both felt it important that no outsider be in the line of fire for anything that could conceivably or inconceivably go wrong when traveling. Inconceivable. Right as Beth is about to go to sleep, she hears a man's voice coming from the hallway, followed by sounds of light laughter from Isabella. Beth runs to Isabella's room, and standing at the foot of her bed is a dark shadow of a man slightly hunched, and Beth screams, "Get away from her," and turns on the lights, and he's gone. Isabella tells her mom that she was just playing with Singing Sally, which is her doll. Mm-hmm. And I wrote being gaslit by a 4-year-old, but in Isabella's defense, she tried to tell Beth earlier. Beth believes the machine is tearing her mind apart. So thoughts on Jonathan's theory of why Beth has time traveled to tragic parts of her past, and thoughts on what happened at home the night.
So this is where the author got me, because in the previous chapters, I'm like, oh, the time travel is just going to the most traumatic parts of your life, because the first chapter is her doing the plane crash. And then the other chapter, like every time that Beth time travels up to this point, there's been very traumatic things that she does not want to, she tries to suppress. And a lot of times we get those movies or literature where people forget certain things because they don't want to experience them again. It's very traumatic. In this book, it feels like Beth is experiencing every traumatic thing that she never wants to experience again. And at this
I don't think
point,
she forgot them, though.
I don't. Again, that's where I'm with Jonathan, because as a reader, I'm with Jonathan, because as the author is telling me, every time she travels, it's very traumatic, effed up shit in her life that every one of us would want to forget and suppress.
Yeah.
So I think this was, when Jonathan's bringing these things up, I'm like, oh my God. The author's like, gotcha.
And part of it too, I was like, oh, that, because Jonathan kind of like it's one of these where it's just like, people are low key right, but it's not the full story. So like, because we'll get that later again with the reporter, it's like, oh, she's kind of tapping into something here. Right. And kind of in this story, there's a lot of thinking and a lot of tapping into what is a person's consciousness, what is this time travel. Yeah. And Ryan here goes, time travel bitch, first t-shirt product and book club merch shop. Tushka, get right on it. You need to do the design. You
know what's scary about this is because I listened to the audiobook, and the way that the narrator said time travel bitch, I mean, it was like, that would be a cool shirt. I literally said that like 2 days ago when I was listening to the audiobook.
But you didn't say it out loud, so Ryan gets credit.
Yeah, no. But Ryan, you right here, buddy, right here.
Then we go chapter 1920. There's still a bloodstain on the sidewalk in front of the entrance when Beth goes to work, and she wonders if Jim plans on ever cleaning it or instead leaving it as a warning to other employees. Probably a warning. As the elevator doors open, Jonathan walks out looking harried and grips Beth. Grips Beth's elbow, telling her we need to talk, and takes her to offices for neuroprosthetics that is now empty. Those who remember, Jerry was part of the neuroprosthetics team that all got laid off. Jonathan tells her that he has read the article and it's not good. Instead of building up possibilities of what Beth and Coulson created, Chio calls it a waste of funds and suggests all the money spent on Beth's research could be used to create something more useful. Chio refers to the machine as a brilliant invention, assuming the future depends on regression instead of progress, and accuses Langen Corp of throwing money at mad science. Chio also wrote, I'm not sure what more unstable, the underlying science or the women responsible for it, which is when I was like, what a bitch.
I was so pissed at Chio in this situation.
Yeah. Chio wrote a kill piece, and Jonathan advises Beth to start thinking about options. Jonathan then tells Beth that Coulson would have wanted her to move on from all of this and get away from all the bullshit. And this is where I'm like, okay, you're being sketch again. You're being sus, bro. Like, why are you saying that specific thing? What do you know? Why are you trying to get her out of this? Beth realizes that Jim wants Tariq to take over for her, and for the second time that week, Beth barges into the CEO's office and finds Tariq there. Jim tells Beth she's suspended and that she needs to get her shit together. Beth responds with, if I'm stressed, Jim, it's because of you. You're the one who needs money. You're the one who cut my staff down to the nothing. You're the one forcing repeated travel so you can get your press. Oh, by the way, I heard your ringer wasn't such a ringer after all. That's right, isn't it? And that's my fault too, I suppose. Tariq tells Beth that Jim asked him if he was comfortable continuing the project in her absence on a temporary basis to lighten her load. Jim tells Beth that Tariq is going to head up the search for someone to travel in her stead because he can't keep risking her, that he needs her brain sane and stable. Beth calms down and tells Jim that the machine is targeting the arrival points, that they are not random. Beth continues that new analysis has shown the machine is targeting memories that consciously or not show higher than normal psychological and emotional vibrations. What is sometimes referred to as a flashbulb memory. It's picking moments that are painful, and Tariq corroborates. Jim asks why this didn't happen to Coulson, and Beth replies that Coulson didn't have those type of memories, that he lived a blessed life. His memories were flashbulb memories for him, but not traumatic ones, not hurtful ones, but still powerful and meaningful to him. Beth tells Jim that getting a stable person to travel won't do, that they need someone fucked up. Beth tells Jim that she will deliver the answers if he wants, but she needs more time, less interference, and for him to trust her. Jim says okay and tells Beth that he can't have the reporter's last impression of her be Beth falling apart, and tells her that she needs to go through the machine again, and Beth agrees. Beth says whatever the machine throws at her, it can't be worse because she's already watched them all die. And Tariq looks at her with a pained expression. So thoughts on the article and this meeting in Jim's office?
The fact that I finished this book and the fact that you said this, like when you watch a movie and then like the ending happens and you watch it again and then you see the little parts of like, oh, that asshole.
Mm-hmm.
This was that. As soon as you're going through it, I'm like, man, Jim is such an asshole. Because everything that he was doing in this thing was, I wanted to hate Chio, but I think Chio was doing her job, and Jim was just egging on Beth to get back in the machine to get more data.
Yeah,
and he was trying to keep her on his side. And as we know later on, that when she starts questioning him, then he's like, "Nope, I'm done with you. I'm going to move on to someone else."
Exactly. And it is one of those where when you're reading it at first, like, you can kind of agree with Jim on some of the things he's saying. And then when you go back to it, you're like, oh, what an asshole.
Like I'm saying, like this was that, like, the 1920 was like 20 chapters. I'm like, oh, yeah. It's like watching Fight Club for the second time. Like after all the big reveals have happened, like 1920 is just like, Jim is a manipulative asshole.
Or watching Get Out. For after you've watched it the first time and you're catching all the little things that you didn't catch the first time.
This chapter 1920, I'm like, okay, I still think Jim is a paint by numbers asshole, but this was, at least as far as the author goes, if you have to reread it and catch more things, that is a good storyteller.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will tip my hat to that. But I feel
the best stories you can continue reading multiple times and get something new out of it or catch more things
and
each time.
This chapter right here is why I would recommend this book. Is these 2 chapters just for the read? Anytime, like you said, I would recommend this book. And I'm like, all right, you're done with it. Now reread it again and think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'll still say it's a very condensed, not linear. It's a very condensed setting. There you go. Condensed setting. Is that better?
You said linear instead of linear.
Whatever. It's a very condensed setting, but I still think Jim is a paint by numbers antagonist. But this 19 and 20 chapters, to reread it and see that he's manipulating and not actually being comforting and supportive of Beth, is a very good.
Yeah,
very good.
It was some well written chapters.
Well written. Thank you. Well written.
And when you said it properly, I was just like, oh no, my Southern boy. Like, I need that Southern accent.
T. Higgins.
So we go to chapter 21, 22. Beth had to go through the debriefing of her time travel trip, and Jonathan convinced the panel that they don't need to show the video and have her relive the last moments of her husband's life again. And this one's like, okay, yeah, back and forth. He's back on the good side here. Like, that's a good thing. Like, let's not have her re-traumatized like we did with the friggin' plane crash at the beginning of the story. Beth has another...
Sorry, can we pick some books where we don't traumatically get, like, punched in the face at the beginning of the book? I feel like we're like
the people who vote.
I know, but like Blood Over Brighthaven and this book are just like, every horror film where it's like people die.
We can blame me for Blood Over Brighthaven because that was a book that I suggested and then we all voted for. But this one's completely Ryan's fault.
I know. Well, I mean, Blood Over Brighthaven is a masterpiece. I will say it. I think that this book is really good, but Blood Over Brighthaven is a masterpiece. So I'm never gonna to sit there and say you're wrong for recommending that book because I loved it. And I want that movie so bad.
I want it to be a TV show.
Yeah.
So Beth has another hypothesis that she hasn't shared with Jim, Jonathan, Tariq, the reporter, or anyone else. What if the arrival points weren't based on pain or love or emotion? What if the arrival points were ways to telling them to stop, to go no further, or else? As Beth is closing down the shared drive and opens her personal drive, she notices that there's a folder labeled Beth in all caps that wasn't there before, and then Beth clicks on it and the window opened up with 2 icons, one labeled me first in all caps and the other labeled me last in all caps. A video of Coulson pops up and he tells Beth that the machine is dangerous and that because it was only him traveling, he kept things from her. He says the following folder will show her the problem he's describing so she can prepare herself to defend against danger he's referring to. She then sees the date the video was created, and it was the day he died. Tariq comes into her office to ask if she's okay and tell her that he would never jeopardize her project. This is all you, and I'm only here for one thing, and that's to help you succeed. That's it. That's all. I'm no thief. I would never steal this from you, under you. Understand? I'd never do that to you, and I would never do that to Coulson. Tariq then tells her that he is there for her, and that if she goes, he goes, and she hugs him and apologizes for being a bitch to him. And this is when I was like, oh, Tariq's a good one. So your thoughts?
So 2 things. This is where I was like, all right, Tariq is awesome. But number 2, I was like, did I miss something? Or is this part of the time travel portion of the fact that, like, wouldn't Beth see the folder labeled Beth? Like, wouldn't she already know and go through all of Coulson's data at this point? So is this her time traveling enough to where in whatever timeline that her brain has gotten to, she finally discovered the folder?
Oh, this was her husband in the state that he ends up in at the end, where he's kind of like beyond
I know that,
human.
But I'm saying like the folder itself that she discovers.
Yeah, he plants that at that moment in time for her. So that folder didn't exist before that time for her, or or after that time for her. He literally planted it for that time and that time only.
That's always the one thing of like, oh, time's going to catch up, and then once it gets to a certain point, then you forget everything that could have happened beforehand. So that's where my confusion is, because I was like, why was that folder not there before? And then I have to like, okay,
because of her husband,
But when is that? Because like, when does that time catch up to it? So that's it. My thoughts were I was confused as hell that she discovered this, and then when she in like later chapters, I'm like, I guess it caught up, but I'm waiting for us to have this book review because I was so confused on how that Beth thing, and then. But the fact is, Tariq was there the whole time, and he knew where all the folders were.
But he didn't know about that folder.
Okay,
that was clear. That was clearly just husband and Beth, because like we find out at the end that he kind of lives outside of time, and so he could just pick a time and place. And
Tariq or Coulson?
Coulson's.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Tariq doesn't live outside of time. Coulson does.
I was like Coulson does.
Yeah. Coulson lives outside, so Coulson sent it at that specific time for his wife's eyes only. That we even learned later, Tariq had no idea about it when like she reveals what the
this was a chapter I was like, I am so confused.
Yeah, it is one of the, and then probably because I've read other like time travel or stuff like where stuff shows up randomly for no reason. It was one of those like, oh, I don't know what's happening yet, but I'll find out later. So it wasn't like I'm confused. It was I'll find the answer at least by the end of the book, which I did.
At this when the Beth thing showed up, I'm like, you've been telling me the rules of time travel at this point, but this is not the rule that you told me about. And why wouldn't Beth? To me, this was a plot hole at the time.
And like the rules of time travel, we learned that they don't actually exist. They only exist for those, but because they made the parameters 90 seconds, because if they made it any more than 90 seconds, that they were going to get lost in that ether into the universe.
Right. The quantum medium, in a sense.
And then we get to the chapter 23, 24. Beth arranges for Lucy to pick up Isabella and have her stay with her so she can continue working. She presses the Me Last icon, and her screen goes black for a moment before coming back to life with a lot, and I mean a lot of code. Then the cursor goes backwards, erasing the code, and she realizes that Coulson is eliminating their life's work. She tries to shut it down, but she can't. Her lab is completely self-contained, so there are no backups of her work anywhere. She then runs to the servers, types a command to shut down the servers and reboot the system to the last backup point. A message appears informing the system has been reloaded from saved backup with backup time stamped at 8:08 p.m. before she sends the corrupting virus spiraling through the network. She searches for the folder, but it's gone. Beth is then kind of like woken up by Tariq the next morning. So thoughts on the mad dash to reboot?
This is where you were saying is Coulson is now starting to realize he's trying to not make Beth go mad. What he did. So he's setting up all the fail safes.
I don't even think it's to not make Beth mad. I think it's to save their daughter.
Actually, yeah. Good
this
point.
Is if we destroy the machine now, you won't go through it tomorrow, and then you won't erase our daughter from existence.
Because that was the biggest what the fuck moment of this book.
Yes.
Because as soon as going back, we didn't go over this. Going back when she was asked those questions the first time, I was like, all right, there's got to be a reason, because the whole time the character's like, why are you asking me this? I don't give a shit. This is just rudiment. This is like when Abigail's asking her these questions.
Yeah.
She even like, just like Abigail is a worthless person. Like even Beth kind of like, oh, you're beneath me. Why you ask me this? You're stupid. This is just...
I don't even think it's a you beneath me, you're stupid. I think it's these questions are stupid, and I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
And even Abigail is like, these questions are stupid, but I guess I'll do it too. So
Right.
like it's everyone agreeing to do something that they think stupid.
But we've read books and we've watched movies as far as storytelling to know that was foreshadowing. And then when that happened, I'm like, well done, Philip. Well done.
So let's get to those points. Chapter 25, 26. As Beth is strapped in, Jonathan goes up to her and tells her she doesn't have to do this. She admits to him that she's scared and that she just wanted to say it out loud and ask him to keep an eye on her. And I was like, oh, okay, he's good again.
Tariq and Jonathan are back and forth for soul. To me, I thought I was like, I understand them.
Tariq was, oh, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. And then he's like, oh, wait, no, you're good. Jonathan went back and forth where, and it's not even like a back and forth of like, oh, is he bad or is he good? It's more of a back and forth of like, oh, that, like, as a therapist, you should not have done. And I don't like you for doing that.
Okay.
To, oh, you're like are actually being very sweet and very good, or you're being a good therapist right now, or you're saying the right thing right now, so I like you.
To me, it felt like to me, Jonathan's character, just from my perspective, it felt like he was always making sure that Beth was okay, no matter how much you disliked his decisions. Whereas Tariq was just doing it, trying to, as we know later on, he was trying to protect Beth from what Coulson already told him.
Yeah. For me with Jonathan, and
Jim was just an asshole the whole bit.
Where Jonathan is like, you told me he's a therapist, so he should be acting like a therapist, but throughout the entire book, he's acting as a friend,
right?
More than as a therapist.
I get what you're saying. Why you don't? Yeah. But I don't care if you're a therapist or not. He always seemed like he was out for the best intentions for Beth.
Yeah. Except for like doctor-patient confidentiality, then I
right.
agree.
No, again, I understand your thing, but I didn't think he was as an antagonist. No, he just broke every rule as being of a therapist.
Yeah,
to do it.
It's kind of like I loved her in The Last of Us Part 2 or Season 2, but the therapist, I was just like, she's not a good therapist in that show. But anyway.
No, Jonathan is Captain Friendzone in this book.
I don't even think friendzone, because to me, I saw zero romantic tension between the two of them throughout the whole thing. I think that, let us know in the comments in the live chat if you saw romantic tension, because he saw it and I did not see it at all.
A little bit. I just saw the Captain Friendzone, like Game of Thrones.
I didn't even. There was zero like friendzone to me in this. It was just like a friendship. It was completely platonic for me. There was zero romantic tension, zero romantic energy on the page. And I've read a lot of romance books. There was no romance energy on the page between the two of them.
I didn't.
To me. But hey, if you want to ship them, you can ship them.
Oh, I'm not shipping them at all. I mean, the love that Coulson and Beth had throughout this book. Oh, okay. I can't wait for that. Yeah, we will chat in a bit on that. I can't wait for him to tell me how much I'm wrong.
Or he might be telling you how much I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But Chio tells Jim that he didn't need to do this, that it doesn't change anything, and that it comes off as reckless and desperate. She also tells him that Beth is his best asset. And then I was like, and yet she's still writing negative things about her in the article. And that's where I was like, how do I feel about her? The monitor with the feed to her POV goes dark. Then the screen showing Beth's vitals goes dark. Therese asks if he should bring her out, and Jim says, don't you dare, and get him visuals. Again, playing with her life. Chio asks, how do we even know she's traveling without the visuals of what she's experiencing? How do we know she's not just lying there having a nap? Which, a good question, a good journalistic question by Chio there. Beth doesn't remember where she went, and Jim answers bullshit angrily. And this is when we really see the anger of Jim come out, and it's just like, oh, this man is very quick to anger. He had those sprinklings of anger before, but he was like holding it down. And then from like this point on, his anger is just very much on the forefront of the page.
Mm-hmm.
Beth remembers the usual lifting feeling as her consciousness was being mapped and sent through the wormhole. She remembers the sensation of being somewhere, and she remembers the feeling pain, lots of pain. Jim accuses Beth of sabotage, and Beth responds, sabotage of what? My career? The woman who you let into the lab is about to smear my reputation and denounce my life's works. You think I'm doing this on purpose, Jim? Really? I got news for you. We're not all as petty as you are. Beth asks for Tariq to bring up the map of her brain activity during the trip and states that her neural feed shutting down had nothing to do with the machine. That's a direct feed from my brain, so it went dark. It's because of something that happened to me, not software. My brain, for lack of a better way to put, simply turned off. Which, I mean...
Yeah.
Loki, she died and came back.
Yeah, she yeah.
Which, I mean, sometimes don't all of us want to, turn the brain off and back on again?
We're not going to do the Flatliners movie.
Jim calls her delicate and says this is the exact reason he wanted someone else to travel. Douche. Jonathan has to break up the fight that is about to ramp up between Jim and Beth, and Jim says that they will debrief that day instead of waiting until the next day like normal. And Tariq asks Beth if she thinks they're fired, and she answers that she thinks they are. Beth also is upset with herself that she hadn't become better friends with Tariq instead of just associates. So it's kind of like they're having a joking nature there, like when she realized like, oh, he's actually like someone that I don't need to fear is trying to come for my job and my work and my like all this. Like she's allowing herself to get closer to Tariq. On the way to the debrief, Abigail ends up in the elevator with Beth. As the elevator begins to rise, Abigail reaches out towards the panel and flips the small red switch, and the elevator halts. Abigail tells Beth, I know we're not best friends, but I want you to know that I have your back, Beth. I want you to know that when I say something, I'm speaking the truth. I'd never purposely lie or mislead you. And then this was the moment I was like, is everyone scared of Jim or what? Like literally almost everyone has come to her and says, I have your back. We had Jonathan say, we have Tariq saying, now we have Abigail saying. I'm like, what's going on here? So thoughts on the time travel experience, Jim's anger, and the conversation Beth had with Abigail.
I mean, this was, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, yeah, I knew Jim was a douchebag the whole time. He was always like, the author was trying to paint him as like, so of all the billionaires in literature and cinema that I've known, the only billionaire that seems to be the kindest guy is a dude that made Jurassic Park. Okay. Because yes,
I guess the Cullen family in Twilight, they're technically billionaires because they've lived so long.
Okay, so for movies that I've actually seen or in books that I've read, I will take your word for it. I saw the second movie and I hate the fact that I saw it. How do you? I'm not. This is not
okay. So side note here. They're terrible books. I've reread them as an adult. They're not great. But it has such a level of nostalgia for me. I was a Twilight girly at one point. It was a guilty pleasure. I read those books plenty of time. Watched those horrible movies that are not good. Although the third movie is the best of all of the movies and better than the book, low-key. But anywho.
The second movie where she's screaming because she's heartbroken and all 4 seasons are going throughout. I'm like, what am I watching? If you were like, anyway.
That was our sidebar Twilight moment.
Right. It was a sidebar. I don't even forgot what I was talking about because she brought up Twilight and I just got pissed.
You extended it, but I didn't bring it up. Yeah. Right. But Beth and Abigail.
Yes. Beth and Abigail. This was when I was like, oh, Abigail's just doing her job. Because like the whole part of this book, Beth is just like, why you ask me this? You're a douchebag. Like,
I didn't see it that way. So I saw it as both of them thinking it was stupid.
Right. But I just because
I don't think she thought Abigail was a douche. I think
again,
she was
the
like,
audio book.
Abigail is just someone who writes the checks. And she even said, she's like, I prefer it that way. Leave me alone. And she leaves you alone. It's great.
The way the audio book was presented to me and the way I was listening to it, it felt like Beth just thought what Abigail was doing was just irrelevant and why you here. And
that's not how I came across in reading it. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can see that and that's the one thing about like audiobooks that like depending on
and that's why I like our show, because I audio and you read.
How a narrator reads a sentence can really change the way that sentence is perceived, because a lot of times it's not what you say, it's the tone of voice. And then when you have the person next to you, like it's what they're physically doing, how they look when they're saying something. So yeah, if the tone of voice or the way they said it makes it seem like that, then like this totally valid takeaway from it. But from just reading the book perspective, it just seemed like oh yeah, she leaves me alone, and I like it that way.
But no, when Jim started to turn to the evil billionaire, I'm like, here we go.
So chapter 27, for the first time during a debriefing, Beth has an audience other than the normal panel. Seated behind the panel are Jim, Chio, and Tariq. Abigail says that they weren't able to assemble any video, but with Tariq's help, they were able to create some still images. The images mirrored shapes, what appeared to be people standing very close to her. A notable one was of the faces is partially covered with a surgical mask. And at this point, I was like, oh, did she go into the future? And then we find out no, she didn't. During the redundant question part, and that's even there too. Like Abigail herself calls out the redundant question part. So like when you say something's redundant, everyone like kind of knows like, oh, this is not serious. Beth answers changed when asked to name two immediate family members. She says her uncle and her cousin. When they replay the pre-travel session, without warning, Beth feels sick, a heavy wave of nausea passing through her. When the immediate family portion is repeated, Beth's whole body goes numb. Trembling, she leans into the microphone and pleads multiple times for them to play it back. Jonathan comes down from the podium to check on her, and Beth says, Jonathan, what's happening? It said I had a daughter. What the fuck is this? Chio asks Jim what this means, and he says nothing. It doesn't mean a thing, which I was like, so convincing, Jim. And then they end the debriefing right there, and Beth goes unconscious. So when you were reading the book, what did you think happened to Beth at this moment? So taking away what you know by the end of it, when you were reading at this moment, what did you think happened to Beth?
Is the change of consciousness is because she traveled so much that her consciousness went to a different timeline where she didn't have a kid. That's what I got. It wasn't amnesia. It was a different timeline. And at this point, I also thought, for kids out there, this is how you write a climax of a book or movie or any type of storytelling. This is a climax, because when she came out of it and you were going through the Abigail stuff of, what's this? What's this? What's this? And they played it back and she goes, what the fuck did you say? I'm like, what do you mean? What the fuck did you just say? And she goes, I have a daughter. And I'm like, oh, we just picked up steam. And that's a climax.
And like low key, when I was reading, I didn't even notice at first that she said something different in her thing, because I think my brain was like, "Oh, this is the same question," so I kind of like.
No, when she said like your closest relatives, and then she was like those two, like she didn't mention her daughter, and then they go, "Oh, let's play it back," and she goes, "Oh, your play it back is this," and then Beth was just like. What happened? I was like, I don't know. There was a black part. I don't remember. And then they played it back, and she was like, "Who the fuck is that?" And I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean? What the fuck is that?
Did you at first think that she wasn't able to hear them? Like, it's like her hearing or
No,
something? Like
I just thought I thought that she was like have amnesia or something like that at first. Because you go through all that neurological stuff, then maybe you would develop amnesia.
Yeah.
And then when she said her stuff of like this, and then she was like, "Who's my daughter?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, it's moldy. It's the timeline stuff is messing with it. It's not because we're dealing with time travel, and there's rules to time travel, and we're figuring out the rules as the book goes along, not the 3 rules that we just heard from the beginning." That's why I said, like, this is, as much as I love Blood Over Brighthaven, this was the best, one of the best climaxes of all right, let's see where this thing goes, of a climax of a storytelling that I've seen.
And chapter 28, 29, while unconscious, Beth has a memory of being pregnant at her OB's office getting an ultrasound. And then she shakes her head, and there are twice as many people in the room as there were 10 minutes ago. And then it kind of like goes to her giving birth, and her daughter has no heartbeat. And the doctor says she has to push for her to be able to save the baby. She pushes to save the life of her daughter, to save the life of a child she feels she already knows. The baby comes out, and she thinks of the name Isabella. But then the doctor informs Beth that the baby is stillborn. And then I was like, hasn't this woman been through enough? And then the countdown appears. Beth wakes up in the medical bay and remembers everything now. Jonathan tells Beth that he knows her and guarantees her without a shadow of a doubt that she has never had a child. When Beth gets back to the lab and speaks with Tariq about there obviously being technical error, Tariq answers that there is a reason they do those questions, is to verify there has been no disruption in the timeline. She goes home, and in the hallway that had all her daughter's art is now empty. So at this part, did you think, and you already kind of said, like, Beth crossed over into another universe where her daughter didn't survive. I was like, or was her daughter never real in the first place? Because that, to me, I was like, oh, is this a book where she never existed? And
no,
and then she did. Yeah, we know that now. But like, I was at this point in the time, I was like, because I don't, have you ever read the book 3 by Ted Dekker?
No.
There is a twist in there where there's a character that throughout the entire book that you actually read from their POV. In the book, he actually is not real.
It's like
and
the
never
Sixth Sense
existed
type of thing, where it's like the whole time he's a ghost.
Not a whole time he's existed. It's a whole time he just never existed.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, like that big twist. Spoiler alert, guys! If you've never seen The Sixth Sense, it's like a 30-year-old movie.
But so for me, I was like, oh, is this a one thing where like? So I was thinking like this could possibly be one of those where like the daughter never existed in the first place. I was like, or did Isabella exist, but the use of the machine erased her from existence? So like those were my 3 theories. The latest one was the correct one. But yeah, I was thinking at the one that I thought like the most was like, oh, maybe she never existed in the first place. And that would have been crazy and a big conversation about grief.
So this chapter teared me up because I just that thought of going through that. And then the other chapters going forward of her having that memory of her daughter and then not having her daughter, which brought me to our t-shirt quote because of her being just hitting the bottle. Beth is like Job and from the Bible, kind of, in a sense. Like, you're just going to get everything taken away from you, even though you're a brilliant person. But this chapter was very well written in all the wrong ways from how emotionally I felt about it.
It was very emotional. It was sad.
Yeah, it was very sad. It was well written. I will say that, for as sad as it was. I never thought that this was the actual reality that Beth was living in. This is when I thought multiverses was a thing. And she, it's the whole DC universe of like there's multiple Earths. Same thing with Marvel. There's multiple Earths. And so different timelines happen on multiple Earths. Because she time travels so much, she got into the multiverse of different timelines. And unfortunately, she molded the timeline to where Isabella became a stillborn and not her actual daughter, but she still has the memory of her daughter.
Yeah.
And then we get the rest of the book.
And for me, the reason I was going like so hard in my head, like hard in the paint, I was like thinking that it was like, oh, Isabella never existed in the first place, is because this book has been, one of the themes is grief and handling grief.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been...
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it would have been such a conversation about how grief can change you if she created in her mind that her daughter survived.
Yeah.
When she didn't. So I was thinking, oh, that would be very interesting. Kind of if you go to like Agatha All Along and you start the beginning of that episode and then you find out at the end of the episode that she's like naked in her living room, thinking all the things that were happening that they weren't.
I get what you're saying, but I would have understood if it was chapter like 10 or 11 or 12 that this happened. But the fact that it happened so farther along in the book, I realized that the author wasn't telling us that this was her grief that was telling us, that was making up these stories. And Jim's character, even though he was kind of paint by numbers, like I can understand that, but I just felt like the where it was presented didn't make sense on that it was her grief that was her mind just making this whole thing up, like Dorothy waking up and it was a dream the whole time.
I think the reason why I thought it too was partially because this isn't as much time travel or multiverse. I don't even think this is a multiverse story still after reading this. I think this is more on a level, like kind of like later it was like, this is beyond what we can comprehend, the human mind can comprehend. And that when like she asks, oh, like dimensions, like he answers yes and no. So that's where I think like it's not completely a multiverse story. Mm-hmm. I think it's more of a erasing someone from existence type of story.
No, like I said, this is a great conversation, which when Ryan pops in here, we'll have that discussion. Yeah. I know there's another discussion he wants to have, and I forgot what he was talking about. But time travel,
you thinking there's a little love from Jonathan,
a little bit, yeah. Captain Friendzone, yeah.
That's the one the rest of them agree to disagree. That one, I'm like, you're wrong.
I probably am, but I'm very basic when it comes to like characters and the fact of and how they interact with people. And he just seemed like that Captain Friendzone, that dude, that character from Game of Thrones with Daenerys. It just reminded me of that.
No, where I did not see that at all. So chapter 30, Beth wakes up from a nightmare and her bedroom door swings slowly open and she hears a little girl singing. After a while, she realizes it's coming from the office, and as she walks in, it's the singing Sally doll, and Beth thinks, I've never owned a doll like this. She then hears footsteps and voices. They come to the door, and it's her and her dead husband. Beth's mind and body go numb as her conscious is traveling through the wormhole yet again, except this time without the machine, to a day and time of her past when she and Coulson family were first looking at this house and decided that the room in which she stands would make a perfect nursery for their future child. The boxes dissolve and are replaced with furniture, a crib, a rocking chair. The walls are now pink and Isabella's in her crib. Coulson then looks directly at Beth, not past Beth, but the Beth observing, and Coulson opens his mouth to say something before he and past Beth disappear, and a twin bed is now in the place of the crib with a little girl laying on the bed looking at her tablet. The room changes again, back to the office full of boxes, and Beth breaks down crying. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was the same way when like you just hear again, I'm listening to the audiobook, so the author is doing the child's voice.
Oh.
All right, so put yourself in my situation where the author is doing the child voice of Mama, and her narrating the doll falling to the ground and it disappearing, and I don't have kids, I don't have a dog, but I have a heart, and this chapter was tough.
That to me, this is the toughest chapter in the whole book.
This chapter was tough.
Yeah.
And I've never wanted to look away from an audiobook before.
You wanted to close your ears.
I wanted to close my ears, eyes. But I had to see it through because I knew exactly what was going to happen.
In chapter 31, Chio comes into Beth's office. Chio tells Beth that the article Jim originally received is not the final draft. In a situation like this, there are reasons to create a piece where everything is attacked, so when the lawyers push back, there are concessions. It's like a negotiation. You never start at your best offer, right? Nope. So, meaning still somewhat of an attack piece, but not as much as an attack piece as what we
turns out Chio's just doing her job.
Yeah. Still not great for Beth, but
no.
Yeah.
But Chio's doing her job.
Chio's doing her job, and it's Jim's fault. Chio informs Beth that she was bummed that Langan forced the travel on Beth, and that it wasn't a request that came from her or her magazine. Chio asks about a theory of physics that in energy acts differently depending on whether it's being measured or not, and Beth dismisses Chio. Chio tells Beth that what she is doing here is mad science. You admittedly don't even know how the machine targets rival points, much less what you might be doing to impact our existing timeline. And even if you are only watching, you could admittedly, in theory, be altering existence in meaningful ways. Chio is surprised that she is being dismissed when a recording from 2 days earlier said that Beth had a daughter and now she doesn't. Chio tells Beth she knows she remembers what happened the last time she traveled and asks if it was tragic. Beth doesn't answer, and Chio asks, what if these tragedies in your life, the ones you've been forced to replay in the present, what if they aren't your true past at all? What if the tragedies aren't something you simply experience, and when you travel, what if they were caused by your travel? And we kind of get to see that with her immediate family, husband, daughter. But when she said that, I included her sister and parents in that too, and I thought we were going to possibly get them back in the story, and then we never do. No. But thoughts on Chio's question?
There. I mean, it was exactly the question I thought, like the multiverse of like when you travel, it opens up other universes that could have happened. And I'm with you. I was hoping to get like some family stuff, or like, you know, with the sister that we got for a split second. And the only thing we got to know from her sister and her family is they just were split into 1,000 pieces and was graphic as hell. We just never got it. But this was a great question by Chio, because Chio became us in this situation. Of just like, tell us what's going on in this book. And that's why I like Chio in this situation, where Chio became just a writer, a character in the book, where she becomes the audience in the book, which I thought was really cool on that. So that's my thoughts on that. And as you go over chapter 32, I do have to step away. I really do. As you go over chapter 32, I'm sorry, audience. I have to step away as she goes over chapter 32. It's a great book. I'll be right back.
Chapter 32, we learned that Beth called Jonathan around 4 a.m. that morning and meets with him and Jim in Jim's office. Beth told Jonathan on the phone call what happened in the room and how she saw her daughter. Jonathan told her she was probably hallucinating, brought on by stress, lack of sleep, and alcohol. Jim tells her that he is suspending her until further notice, and Jonathan broke doctor-patient confidentiality and told Jim that Beth is seeing her dead husband and saw a child that doesn't exist. And I was like, oh, he's sus after all, breaking doctor-patient confidentiality. And that's when I was just like, okay, bad Jonathan. When Beth says as much to Jonathan, he says, he's here as a friend, and she replies, fuck your friendship. Jim asks Beth if she really thinks she has a daughter just because of some anomaly in the question, does she think she changed reality? Beth answers that the questions are to make sure they haven't altered the present. Jonathan reveals that he created the questions and that they let her and Coulson believe that they are a mental test. They are checking to see if the machine causes any brain damage. Beth tells them that her understanding was that the questions and the science behind them are to ensure going through that machine doesn't alter reality. She tells them that attaching a psychological test to that is kind of a variable added that like doesn't actually exist. So if you're trying to go with that variable, like that's on you, that's not on me, kind of thing. I can kind of see her logic and kind of don't at the same time, because variables can exist even if you're not accounting for them when it comes to science. Jim tells her that she is suspended with pay and that when she comes back, he wants her focused and energized, and that Tariq can handle the lab. Jim also tells her that the article will be what he wants it to be, and Chio is out of her depth, which we never get back to that.
No, I hated that.
Beth asks for a few days so she can save her daughter, and Jim threatens her to walk away quietly, and if she doesn't, he will involve the board and the media and make sure she never works again. Jim then says, very cruelly, might I add, that even if Beth is correct and she altered the timeline, the old answers will catch up to the current timeline and be altered forever, washed away from reality. Any evidence of what happened here will be dissolved like melting snow. So if you didn't think he was bad, if this whole time you were like, maybe he is right, maybe he actually still cares, you get it here, because we all know he was faking it, but if he actually cared, he would like kind of help her out with this, but he doesn't. So thoughts?
So let me ask you this on this, as we winding down to the end of the book, and you know with me, I like to put actors and actresses in certain roles to make the book even more exuberant. How old do you think Jim is? Because they never really say how old he is.
I thought they did. I think they said he was like in his 60s or 70s, something like. Okay. He's an older gentleman. He's been like he's had that company for a long time.
Okay, because I was thinking a broad spectrum. Okay, either on the older side, Michael Caine, or on the younger side, Aaron Eckhart.
Aaron Eckhart's too young.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So Michael Caine being
I don't even see Michael Caine, and that's probably because I think he's too much of a sweetheart. And even though I know he can play a villain, he's too much of a sweetheart. I don't want that to be him.
Then
I love that you like think actors and one. And to me,
by the way, I don't. Beth to me is Allison Brie.
Sure.
She's from Community. She's yeah.
I know who Allison Brie, but yeah, I'm like, yeah. To me, she could be any.
Right, she could be. She's such a fluid character that there's no like that's like from Blood Over Brighthaven, like Florence Pugh. That's that character. Like that actress could play her. This one, Beth, is whatever. But the thoughts on this thing is Jim is such a conniving asshole in this chapter. Like he's like, I'm an antagonist, guys. If you didn't know, I'm the bad guy. This was the chapter that said it.
And you would think Jonathan would have noticed that too, being a therapist, being in tuned with people. Not only does he break doctor-patient confidentiality, he also does not know that he's working for Evil McEvil Pants.
Yeah.
But and this is where we go into next here. There's this 3 chapters together, so 33 through 36. Bette meets up with Lucy and her son at the park, hungover. Your favorite part?
Yeah. My favorite line in the book.
Maria Elena is at the park, and as Beth tries to talk to her, she gets frightened and threatens Beth to stay away from her or she'll regret it. And so she kind of apologizes and leaves. Before that, she does say time travel, bitch. You could speak more on that when I asked the question at the end. As she walks home, Tariq is waiting at her doorstep. Tariq reveals that he's been suppressing information from Beth, analytics data about the machine and the traveling on Coulson's orders. Tariq tells Beth that during the period when Coulson was traveling was when he found the first alteration. Tariq says, as you know, the basic wave function of the human mind is incredibly unique. Barring injury or some other kind of destructive outside stimulation, they never change, not permanently. It's electrical DNA. That's how specific the patterns are. Every time Coulson traveled his mind, his brain pattern, Beth, it changed. In essence, it was technically Coulson who returned, or not his consciousness anyway. It was someone else, someone different, similar, yes, exact, no. He continues with the theory that Beth and Coulson have talked about before, the idea that when you travel, you're not just observing, you're recreating a moment of existence, which then sends our ripples of new data into reality, like dropping a stone into a pond, and that ripple affects the entire lifespan of the traveler and possibly others within range of the energy flow. What I'm telling you is that it's possible the recreation of those moments could account for the modification to his brain pattern. Coulson was still Coulson after he traveled, but he was slightly different because he fucked with the program. He altered the reality and yours and mine and hell, potentially anyone else within Earth's atmosphere. And so here's kind of where my understanding of the science is that it's not really like a multiverse, but it's more of like your brain is creating a situation or creating the memory. And then you're going, when you go back, and that can create the change in the reality.
Right.
So like butterfly effect, even though they don't interact with the past, but it still is creating somewhat of a butterfly effect. Right. Tariq also tells Beth that there has been discrepancies in the questions before that no one but him remembers. Tariq tells Beth that everything that is happening to her, it happened before to Coulson, and he helped Coulson fix it, but that it is dangerous. Tariq tells Beth that the record shows that Coulson only traveled 7 times, but he's aware of 2 other instances that he traveled off the record. One of the times he traveled, Beth herself didn't exist. Tariq also reveals that he has a server that is in outer space called Codex that Langdon pays handsomely for, but doesn't know exist, and that is why he is able to keep information when realities change. So we finally get the answers in chapter 35. How did you feel about the reveal?
Why do you think Tariq kept this away from Beth? Is for a home. It's like Jonathan kept certain things, Tariq kept certain things. Why do you think these characters are keeping things away from Beth? Is it obviously like every time someone keeps something in any type of interaction, you keep certain secrets or things for people for their protection. But Beth is so far into it at this point. Why wouldn't you go ahead and pull her aside and be like, you need to know this stuff?
So on Jonathan's front, I don't think Jonathan is keeping anything from Beth other than that he was telling Jim what was going on. So I know in your interpretation is that Jonathan knew stuff, where my interpretation is Jonathan didn't know anything. From his perspective, it's just like, I see that you are being affected by this and that you are mentally not okay after going all these having to relive all these traumatic events, and so therefore I don't want you to have to go through this again. So as your therapist and as your friend, I want you to be okay. So with me, he's not keeping any information from her. He's actually telling her the truth of like, I don't want you to have to relive trauma. Okay. Now for Tariq, man, a promise to your bro is really sacred.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was like. Man, he kept it close to the vest with Coulson.
Yeah. So like him and Coulson must have been like real bros for real.
So
and it's one of those he promised his best friend to protect and care for and like take like and watch out for the wife. And so I guess out of just like love and probably somewhat guilt because of the second time travel, he knows about the car crash himself. So when the car crash actually happens, he's probably feeling somewhat guilt for it. And so there's probably like a level of different emotions that he's just like, I can't betray my best friend even if my best friend's dead.
Yeah, and especially when Coulson was going through the mental things that Beth is going through right now. And he was basically telling Tyreek, and obviously we get the stuff. And I think I pulled it up. Hold on.
Lucy says nothing. Her lips tight, eyes wide. She nods. Time travel, bitch.
There you go.
Beth says with a sad.
So there's the audiobook. There's the audiobook. Time travel, bitch. So anyway, there you go. But anyway, yeah, but Tariq, he's in a conundrum that we never realized he was in.
Yeah. And also he had to live with like all the times that for her protection, he's like trying to be chummy with Jim and trying to do all these things so that way like he can, it looks like things are on the up and up, but he's actually like putting in things to keep her safe. Right. All that, like the appearance looks like he's not a good guy. And so then he has to live with her kind of being an asshole to him. Yeah. And he has to just take it.
By the way, Tariq, to me, Donald Glover.
I could see that. With his like last name, I was just like, oh, is this like more like Middle Eastern or something? Maybe North African?
Maybe. Yeah, but I was just thinking Donald Glover.
Right.
Just because Donald Glover's performance in The Martian reminds me of what Tariq would be in this situation.
See, and I love your fan castings. I'm like, to me, anytime I think I was like, oh, I want them to be unknown so that way it can be as cheap as possible so they can put money into the VFX and other things to make it look cool.
But I'm not looking at it like they're going to make a movie out of it. I'm just like, can I see this well-known actor, actress?
Right.
Here's what I would cast. Like, no money involved. You give me a well of money. Here's how I would cast it. And it just puts perspective. It just puts more in my imagination and puts more grounded to the book. So that's why Alison Brie was the first thing that I thought of with Beth.
Yeah. Or like with me, I literally I rarely, if ever, think of an actor when like a character when I'm reading a character.
No,
it fascinates me how like that can be something that like it comes so easily for you and it does not for me at all.
Yeah. And then also like I love our book. I love the way we do these things because I listen to the audiobook and you read the book, so we get different perspectives based on how we consume the media. Which is why we love this show. Discord down below. Like, subscribe, ring the doorbell.
Later. Something that came to my head. I was like, I don't need to say that live.
All right.
And then chapter 37 through 39, we see a recording of Coulson during one of his unsanctioned travels. In the video, Coulson reveals that in the moments before he traveled, he focused on everything he had on Beth, on what he remembered of her. I think the machine looks for those spikes, those emotional flashpoints each of us have in our past. Tariq then shows Beth another video. In this video, Coulson has another unsanctioned traveled, and he traveled to the future where he dies in the car crash. So it's the first time ever that he goes into the future instead of going into the past. Coulson, what if by taking matter out of the equation and by sending consciousness through space to time, destination unknown, untargeted, what if we're throwing away the effects of perspective, losing objectivity as it pertains to special relativity? Say there's not past, no present, no future. Say that time isn't, your favorite word, linear. When we travel without bodies, without our bodies, we're removing the fixed state of observation as it pertains to time. We've essentially freed our perspective, the set point that acts as the apex of the past and the future, the infamous razor's edge. What if we're traveling outside of time itself, outside the rules of quantum gravity, of relativity, of physics? What if for a minute and a half of Earth's time, we're gods? Would this piss off the universe or what? So thoughts on the videos of Coulson and Coulson's perspective? You are muted.
This hurt my head when Coulson was going through this. I got what he was saying, but this was supposed to be the third rule of time travel, not this convoluted thing that Coulson said. But I understood what he was saying in the sense of, hey, at this point, this was the speech that Ian Malcolm did in Jurassic Park of just like, you were so dead bent on whether you could, you shouldn't have, like, you didn't think about it if you should.
Yeah.
This was this, like halfway through the book, I'm like, because of what Beth was going through, and then what we realized with Coulson as we got along in the book, I'm like, wow, this is exactly the chaos theory thing that Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park. Of you all were so dead set on figuring out if you could, you didn't realize if you should. And shout out to that book and that movie, because that a lot of times when it comes to science fiction of, hey, should we do time travel? Should we clone people? Should we, like, anything that we don't have in our world and we put in movies or things like that to be, oh, that'd be cool. And science is pushing. That quote just rings in my head. And that's exactly, I know there's a lot of words that Coulson said, but that's pretty much what he said.
And I think you can take that to the real world and AI.
Mm-hmm.
No, a lot of times
it's scary right now.
We can do stuff, but should we?
Should we?
So I'm going to leave everyone with that as we go to chapter 40 through 42. Tariq theorizes that by traveling, the only thing that changes is us. Isabella didn't disappear from your world. You changed your world to become a place where you don't have a daughter. I know we can't change the future, but we can alter the present. Tariq tells Beth that Jim thinks he has Tariq wrapped around his little finger and has offered him Beth's job multiple times. He also tells her that her suspension is not a real suspension, that Jim just needed her out of the lab next week so he can bring a new team up to speed. Tariq has one request kind of for her, and that's after getting Beth's daughter back, they destroy the machine. And then they kind of like, you get this part in the security where at first you think, oh, wow, security on the weekend at Langdon kind of sucks. It actually wasn't that bad.
Right.
And then as Beth is about to travel, an alarm goes off due to the security breach. Jim shows up in the lab and tells them that if they don't follow orders, the guards have been given the order to shoot to kill. Beth begs Jim to listen to her, not as his boss, but as a person, to give her 2 minutes. Abigail speaks up and tells Jim that it can't hurt and that they owe Beth that much. After some mean mugging, he allows her to speak. So Beth gives her spiel, hoping they will believe her, and Jim says that he already knew. Thoughts?
Dude. Like, I knew, like I said, like, Jim was a paint by numbers character, but this brought me back to Blood by Brighthaven when she went to her professor and he's like, yeah, I knew we were killing people to make energy. I was like, yeah, I knew I was doing this. And your point?
Yeah.
Like, and then he went to the guinea pig stuff and your lab rats, and like, I know I'm getting ahead of it, but Jim's whole just "I'm the evil asshole" speech. That's when I was like, all right, dude, just. That's when I was like, the author. I was like, yes, we get it. He's an evil asshole, and then he just kept going in on the fact that not only you terminated, but I am. That is my machine. That is not yours. You are everything. You are my guinea pigs. Like, he just made them feel less than human, and I'm like, okay,
and maybe the reason I was just thinking that like came to my mind is maybe the reason I don't find this problematic is that there's so much evil in the world right now that we're seeing on screen. Like, either if you're watching it on Instagram, Twitter, the news, all that stuff, and they're being like comically evil, like almost in a sense of like you wouldn't think that people in the real world be that outfaced evil, like, and not give a shit what they're saying and what they're doing. And it's so much to the point that now, like, when you're reading it in a book or in a comic, or if you've watched like the South Park episode with like Cartman, like before the stuff that Cartman said would be more out of pocket, and now that stuff is being, what Cartman would normally say is now being said all the time, regularly. So to me, it's just like, oh no, this is maybe reading it nowadays in like today's day is like, oh no, there's people that are this comically evil. Like, that is their stated goals.
I'm not saying that what he's saying is outlandish. I'm just saying that it's so paint by numbers.
Yeah.
As an evil person. So I'm agreeing with you that, like, yeah, I'm not saying like, how can someone be this way? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we get it. He's the bad guy. You don't have to keep drilling it with us. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. How can this person ever be this evil?
But if that's like our reality today in our timeline, like, then if you're just writing from what is existing now in our current timeline, then it kind of like is like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what you're experiencing. So of course you would write it that way.
I just want more complexity to it, because if this is the norm of an evil person, give me a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. Now, granted, was this published in 2019? Then that'd be a different situation.
This was published, let's see.
And then the characters became real life.
2025. So yeah.
So again, that's my point. Year. It's just like, oh, here's a bunch of douchebags. I just write a douchebag. Like,
yeah. So this being published this year makes it even more sense of like, oh yeah, this is showing the douchebaggery that exists in our world today.
And again, my point is not that it's wrong. My point is that I want more creativity. The fact that I want someone so.
But the evil people that live in the real world now are not creative themselves.
Again, I agree with you. Do you understand my point here?
I understand. No, I agree. I agree with you that I like my villains to be more complex, but I'm saying that I don't have a problem with it at this point in time, is because the villains in the real world are not that complex.
Right.
So this is just a mirror to the villains of the real world.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I will say this. As far as trying to relate to Jim, I unfortunately would be like, it's my money. I invested in it. I know you're the creativity behind it, but it's my money. So therefore, I do own it. Like, I get that part. The other stuff of him just talking about guinea pigs and I knew all this stuff was going on. I knew that would harm you. Yeah, that's the inhumane stuff that I can never live with.
Yeah.
But I can understand.
Because guess what, Josh? You're a good person.
Right. But I still, as far as what I can relate to Jim, is if I'm investing in it, it's my money. Technically, it's mine.
Yeah.
In that sense.
But to finish up the book, so this is the last 3 chapters of the book goes, and I literally wrote evil reveal time.
The guinea pig stuff. I rolled my eyes when he started doing this guinea pig shit, by the way.
Because I was just like, oh, this is the villain speech.
I was waiting for the moo ha ha ha.
Right.
It was so paint by numbers evil person.
And Jim, and then we learned too that Jim wants to travel to other people. So not just like you yourself traveling in the past to a previous you, it's you traveling into other people's bodies.
This is that Get Out portion of the book.
Yeah. Jonathan snatches a gun from one of the guards and tells Jim that if he doesn't tell the guards to let Beth and Tariq go, he will shoot him dead. Jim agrees, and it allows for Beth to like have the time to go and travel. She travels back to Isabella's first day of preschool that has her, Isabella, and Coulson in it. We saw this memory earlier in the book, so we get a repeat of it later as like something that was happy moment for all of them. And it's the video that Isabella, like, at the beginning of the book, would continuously ask her mom to replay over and over again. At about 20 seconds left on the clock, there's a loud crash. Jim and Jonathan are in a brawl, and unfortunately, Tariq is murdered, which I was like, no.
Really? Why the ethnic person I'm thinking to me was African American, but still.
Why y'all have to kill us, bro?
Why you have to kill people that's not looking like me?
In the shooting, the console was hit, and they can't turn the machine off, so she ends up in the machine for longer than the 90 seconds. Beth travels to the future, where she's very old, and she dies in the hospital with her daughter by her side. So she gets to see her death kind of in the same that Coulson got to see his. She then gets a bird's eye view of the hospital. And then I was like, is this like a comment of like the afterlife? Because she's now seeing it from a bird's eye view. But it wasn't that, but like no. I thought that when I was reading it originally.
Again, the way the author was very good in his descriptions of things.
Yeah. And like you, depending on who you are, you can read religious undertexts in this, or you don't see it. And it could be in, I think either perspective is a correct one. It's one of those where it's like you choose your own adventure on that.
Like I said, it's a Coen Brothers film.
Right. And then she has the bird's eye view of the hospital, and the scene shifts, and she now has a bird's eye view of the lab and kind of just sees everything that's going on. Tariq's dead, all the situation. And then she's just like, nah, I don't want to be a part of this, and climbs higher and higher and higher until her consciousness becomes like one with the universe. Beth then realized that she's passing through multiple numbers of herself, passing through space, searching, and from one instance to the next, she then now ends up in her own body. And then this, I couldn't visualize where exactly her and her husband were. So I was like, then she's in a meadow, ? In a sundress, and her husband is there, and it's like questions him like, is this heaven, outer space? Is this something else? And like, he's just like, this isn't heaven. This isn't purgatory. This isn't the afterlife. This is just a place for us to be able to have a conversation. And then Coulson tells her that time isn't what they think it is, and that they were very arrogant. Beth asks if he's a figment of her imagination, and he says that he is real, that he's just not in her world anymore, or her version of it. She asks if he's talking about dimensions, and he says yes and no. It's impossible to put it in the scientific construct you would understand, or any human would be able to understand. Coulson tells her that during one of his travels, something went wrong, and he ends up somewhere he shouldn't have, and he's kind of fragmented, parts of him going in different directions, riding different waves of space-time. And he says kind of like, the future isn't real, the past isn't real, the only thing that's real is the present. And I was just like, Oh, all the philosophy. I took a philosophy class in college. This is all the philosophical stuff.
My head started to hurt when he said that line.
Coulson admits that he's been able to insert himself at points in place and time with only a thought, and has been watching her and Isabella, so Beth wasn't going crazy. And then he says, what if I told you that you could pick any point in time, any memory, any moment, any reality? And goes, the machine never chooses the arrival points, Beth. You did. It's not an algorithm or a glitch in the code. It's human emotion. It's your desire to relive the most important, the most impactful parts of your life. That's the secret of the machine, of your work. And then Beth chooses, and at the end of the book, it's her husband, and her child, happily ever after.
Having a breakfast.
Thoughts on the end of the book?
Well, you know what? I will give my thoughts, but you know what? I'm gonna bring in our Discord member Ryan to also do that. That's right. He was there in the background. So there it is. There's the book. Great shirt, by the way. Excellent shirt.
Like that. I'm working for the Empire.
Yeah. So is Jim. In this book. But so the book, when I listen to an audiobook, it's just like a movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
But nice glass of
cheers
wine there. Ooh, nice. Cheers, Ryan. All right. Yeah, it's Friday night. But I will say this book, yes, I said linear because of the story, what it was. It wasn't some broad thing, but the story that they were telling was very broad as far as where they were going with time travel and stuff like that. But at the end of it, it reminded me of the end of Inception, of him spinning the dial, and you didn't know if it was in reality or her consciousness, and if she was dead. That's where it left me. But I thought this author left an open-ended ending to me.
Yeah.
That's where my thoughts on the ending was.
What did you think about the ending, Ryan?
It's fine. It was one of those that I was trying to figure out what was going on. I mean, I could see where you were thinking, did she die there on the table? Or is her consciousness somewhere, but is it really anywhere? I mean, is it just where memories are? But I mean, it was interesting enough of an ending, but I didn't quite see coming, because it just all of a sudden it was just there.
It's a very short book.
Yeah. And I know, thinking about this, some of your other comments of some of the characters that were out there, that made me think of, well, if you had a little bit bigger book, maybe some of these other side characters could have been established a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because really, you had your main core, and the main core obviously was good, but it was a very condensed book. You're dealing with, she's at the office, she's at work, she's at the park. It reminds me of most of my life right now.
And when we were at the halfway point, and you have the reveal of daughter. What daughter? There's no daughter that exists. What did you think was going on at that point?
I was thinking something was going to happen to the daughter at some point, in some way. I didn't know what, because they just were, the first half of the book was, everything was so positive with the daughter, make you like the daughter, get your heartstrings going. If all of a sudden something happens to the daughter, will the daughter come back? Where did the daughter go? And that's ended up being what happened. I wasn't thinking it was multi-universal or anything like that. I was thinking the universe itself was its own character being a real jerk. And she was, because based off some of her other jumps, she was reliving all her bad memories and everything. She's like, well, they can't take anything else for me. And then the universe was like, you think I can?
Yeah, exactly.
You just wait.
Your daughter.
I just took your daughter out of existence, and it wasn't that she was somewhere else. No, this was her reality. The universe just yanked and made it worse. You want to keep messing with me? I'll make it. I don't know how worse. I mean, but yeah, and took the daughter out of existence. So.
And then from the point earlier when you're like, I got thoughts on that. So is it Mr. Friendzone, or was there zero romantic tension at all between them? Where do you lie?
Again, I listened to the audiobook, so I listened to it on 1.5 speed, so I got a different perspective. But that being said, I did play. You heard me play the time travel bitch from the narrator.
No, and I actually am falling into the direction where I can see where you both are coming from. But I end up going in the direction of, all right, this is a doc that is supposed to be professional, but then has gotten really close and all right, just being helpful. I mean, this is supposed to be a really large facility.
Mm-hmm.
He spends a lot of time with her.
Yep.
And and if he was just kept to professional and not all of that stuff, and where I could see, you would think that there's something more to it. It was because he went in this direction and started to get closer and closer. There wasn't anything in the book that said it. It was something in my mind thinking that might be the direction of going. But again, it wasn't in the book. It was just thinking that would be a storyline that, okay, this is what he's trying to do, but he never did. So
you would say that it's such a broad facility, but yet he narrowed himself to this one thing. Which would make it.
I wonder too, and this would be, we need to see if Cheryl read the book or if T read the book in the Discord. What their thoughts are, if this is like a kind of like a male-female thing, reading it is if you're going to come on one side or the other on whether it came off as platonic or not.
Yeah, and it not that it didn't come out platonic, but the things he was being a bit unprofessional,
right,
and just was and yeah, you could be friendly, but the things some of the stuff he's saying, yeah, felt like he was definitely doing his job, but and just like you're dealing with, is he good, is he bad, is he good, is he bad, is he just trying to be a friend, is he just trying to be, I mean, you really weren't quite sure where his, I don't know, personality lied,
right,
and till the end, and then he's just holding his hand, seeing her laying out on, maybe dead, maybe not.
Right.
For a second, like until she had the bird's eye view, and I'm like, oh, he's alive. Mm-hmm. I thought he died too. I was like, oh, him and Tariq dead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was like, there's a lot of people dying here, or something going on, and but only actually one. But it would have been a more, I don't know, enjoyable if Jim bit it too. But that would have been again your standard. I will say he did actually get worse throughout the show, or the movie, the book, because we knew he was bad.
Episode 6, man, that's when he really got bad.
Yeah, episode 6, he went from just being the bad guy to a really perverted bad guy.
Right.
Because didn't realize they was having a video camera in.
Oh yeah.
So he saw a lot more stuff, and he wasn't telling nobody. And he's like,
you could tell the author of Philip. What's his last name?
Fracassi.
He was just like, I can't wait to talk about the secret camera and the guinea pigs. And I'm like, how perverted are you? Like, if you think about it, like guinea pigs and secret cameras, like, how perverted are you?
Was I the only one that, like, I thought from the very beginning of it, I was like, she has a lot of confidence in this lab. Like, there's no cameras here. I was like, there has to be cameras in the lab. Like, I thought that from the very beginning. Even too, when they went and talked in the other one, I was like, there's probably cameras here, and you're over here in this, like, the prosthetics, like where it was empty. And then at the end, there's cameras. It's like,
everywhere.
Okay, right.
I mean, Jim wasn't lying. He says he knows everything because he sees everything because this is his lab. Yeah, all the people are working in different rooms, but what we don't see, and we could just picture in the back of our mind. Yeah, he has his office, but he might have this side office that he turns his chair around, and he just has a bank of cameras, and he's just looking at everybody.
Like it's a secret room, like in Daredevil, the Kingpin's room that has all the monitors.
Speaking about Marvel, I just now realized Jim is Norman Osborn in this story. It's like if you watch the new Spider-Man animated show, like he has cameras everywhere. He's the super smart guy. And everything he sees as a way to, and also he wants to tap into a multiverse anyway. So Jim is Norman Osborn, but he also is using people as guinea pigs, where Norman Osborn in that show has at least a sliver of humanity.
Yeah, I was like, not to speak well of Norman Osborn, but I think Norman Osborn has more humanity.
No, I'm saying he has a sliver of humanity in that show. Now, not
at the same time, don't go changing into your costume in the stairwell. He's gonna find out.
That was the thing there.
I love that was addressed in the show, because when I watched it, he changed in the stairwell. I was like, bro,
how would
if they just let him get away with this, and then when it came back to bite him in the ass, I was like, good, he learned.
Yeah. What a great show. I know this is not about the third rule of time travel, but what a great show. Yeah. If you haven't, you're out there, if you haven't seen it, go watch that show. That show is amazing.
And just because we love giving Gift shit here, Gift didn't show up when it was his book that he picked, but Ryan showed up when it was his book that he picked.
Yeah. So, Ryan, are you happy that we did your book? Are you this book was, like I said linear a lot, and you understand what I mean by that, right? Like, it's for the books that we did. Yeah, I want to make him drink.
I think the most correct that you were was when you referenced. I don't think you know what that word means.
Yeah. Inconceivable. Right. But it's very I'm just saying, based off of the books that we did, they were just so broad. Like, it was multiverse, all these things. There was multiple characters, like Blood Over Brighthaven. It was a whole city, and we went to multiple parts of the city. This book was literally like a family in a lab. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's a very condensed book.
Yes, condensed would be the better way to say it, but
I would say this and like Mickey 7, where it's like I would compare. So you have a lot of scenes in Mickey 7 in the Commander Colonel's, I forgot exactly what his name was, office. You have a lot of scenes in Jim's office. You have scenes in the lab. You have scenes
in his room.
So then
multiple versions of making love to his girlfriend or whatever it is.
Because there's not a lot of places for him to go on that ship, kind of like you are in a very condensed space, whereas this is, So you said, it's house, park, work.
Right. So condensed would be the better word for it, but when like the reason I say
linear means straight line. That's why
the reason I'm saying that is because me and my buddies love Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy games. And when there's a certain point of Final Fantasy, which is supposed to be a big, broad game, like big maps, big story, all that stuff. But when it gets to a point, it's very like you said, narrow stuff. So like, what's the story like? And we always say it's very linear. That's what we just say. It's like, it's very straightforward. So that's why I'm saying this book was very straightforward.
It was very straightforward for, I'd say, almost 3/4 the book. And then you still had, had the little pieces where they had to, go and for 90 seconds and that kind of stuff. And it was just there at the very end is where he went off to, who knows where he actually went off to.
Well, when you're in a philosophy class at the end of the book.
Yeah, I wasn't planning for that. But I'm agreeing though about how the quick read on this was, because I think once I hit page 200 or so, I finished it in with the one sitting. I meant to go to bed, but no, I just I pushed through.
I forget when I said during this review, but especially when she hit the what the F did you say it was? Who was that? Like when she forgot Isabel, that's when Isabella, I was like, all right, you got me now.
Here's the thing. I was expecting something right in that moment, only on the fact of as I was reading it and how the pages just kind of laid out. It made me think there's something going to happen here, and I wasn't sure what. And then it was at the very end of the questions. If you reading the book didn't quite give it away, but I'm like, I was surprised at what it was. I just wasn't surprised it was happening at that moment.
And there was moments too in the book where I was like, okay, we should be getting a climax soon. But there was moments that I was like, was that the climax? Before the wait, I have a daughter part, because you can technically say that the first, not the plane crash, but her and her husband, the day that he died, that one you can technically say that could be the climax of the book. And there was moments where like you could put that, but then I would agree that the actual climax was the Wait, I Have a Daughter.
It's I think where he that time travel where the husband dying and the birthday and that whole one was definitely where the hump went over of like okay, now we got some momentum, all right, now let's go. And but it really went back up a few more times, obviously, with the daughter and everything. But it was it was enjoyable.
No, I was. If you were the one that recommended this book, I was not expecting to tear up, and then I listened to the audio.
You made Josh cry.
When I listened to the audiobook, and when after she's like, she went to that sequence of like and her playing with the doll. Oh my god, that narrator!
I almost want to. I mean, I'm good at reading it again. I don't need to read this one again, but I wouldn't mind listening to the audio just for some of the parts that you were talking about, just to hear how that was all a thing. But
yeah, because I mean that's it. I if you want to listen to it, you can, but I would not recommend to listen to that. Now, what I played with the time travel bitch, listen to that all day. But her going through that of seeing her daughter and the daughter and like her walking down the hallway and hearing her daughter's voice and the bear just disintegrating in front of her, I would not recommend that, especially as a father. I would not recommend
okay, then maybe I'll move on to the I'm on book 5 of Dungeon now, so.
I was talking to my buddies about Dungeon Crawler Carl the other day. I
got to pick it up at the library tomorrow.
I'm still on book 2 because I'm reading so many books at the same time.
Again, Giff recommended that book, and he.
Now, because we weren't able to have the book club last month, is there anything that you want to say about Trevor Noah's book?
I will say I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I was like, what? I didn't. I mean, I was like, okay, I'll just see what's going on. His history, everything was involved. I was like, oh, okay, that's and he is now how he ended up here from there, even though they didn't really touch on it towards the end of that. It didn't really touch about that. There's a large gap over here, just what's going on there. I wasn't a big fan of the moving back and forth, though. I mean, just like, all right, you're talking about this part of his life, then it's over here, but then he bounces back to here, but then he's back. So I'm like, all right.
That wasn't very linear of him.
That was the opposite. I mean, I'll drink for you too.
I did that just for you, Josh.
It makes sense when I explained it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it makes sense. No.
Yeah. I will say though, yeah, I mean, I really did like being able to read that because
Yeah.
it definitely gives a whole different life perspective of like, yeah, that's not my world.
Right.
And the things that you have to deal with, and yet you can still find commonalities on the things that he's dealing with. I mean, he had to deal with stepfather issues and all these different things. And I mean, not to get too personal, but growing up, not the greatest stepfather type of issues and that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you can relate to certain things that, I mean, even if you're in opposite ends of the world, people are still people, family still family. It's all of a thing. But no, I mean, I'm glad it was a nice break between some of the other ones that we are reading.
Yeah.
And people kept putting that one on there, and I'm like, all right, we need to read that one.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have now
And y'all
coming up.
y'all get sick and dead. So,
Then we have coming up The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. So that one, we're going more into the historical fiction. So we're going somewhere we haven't been before in the book club.
In a weird set of coincidence, this is our book club here and my wife's book club have now connected. They've read that book. And I felt I happened to tell her that, oh yeah, this is what the next one is. She's like, eh.
Which to me is my favorite. I love the pseudo fiction stuff. I'm a big fan of Da Vinci Code. I love that book. Assassin's Creed video games. I love those type of stories where they take actual like nonfiction stuff and then mold it into a different story. Those are my favorite type of books where they can make just molding together. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading.
Right. Yeah.
Or listening to it.
Yeah. You get a storyline in an actual place. The person may not, I don't know, I haven't really looked into it or anything, but the person may not be real, or I don't know the storyline, but the point is they're going to get some places that are the same. And I've been to Palm Bay a couple of years ago. So it'll be depending on how they describe it, might be a different little perspective.
Well, maybe we need to get the missus to come on and talk about what she thinks of the book as well.
Yeah, good luck on that.
Can we get a cat at least?
What?
Can we get a cat at least?
I got 2 cats. They're roaming around here somewhere.
It's all right. Well, we're going to have Ryan Moore on because our fantasy season is coming up, and you're going to be a part of it.
Yeah. I even though it did say I needed to send some funds somewhere, I'm like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to do that.
Tushka's got in charge of that. I sent you a private message being like, hey, you're going to join, and you just never responded, by the way. But I expect you to be one of the ones.
I saw the message, but it just said, okay, we got to do certain things, but it didn't say like how I'm supposed to give the money to somebody.
Yeah, just respond to Tushka. Tushka's in charge of that shit. Just so you know, Sol and I are champions of this league at one point.
Tushka says we're not, but
yeah, no, we are. The reason Tushka says we're not is because he's not ever. So.
Is this bitter talking?
Tushka, yes.
So I know nothing really at all about American football, and so I was like, oh, they told me to be a part of it, and I was like, I'm gonna hire this guy over here for free to run my fantasy team, and then it just became his fantasy team, but it still has my name on it, so I claim it as our fantasy team
because we're both graduates of Western Kentucky, so we're the Soulful Hair Toppers.
There we go.
And then, but we won when our league was on another Discord, so it wasn't part of REV. So Tushka says it doesn't count, even though it's the same people, just now on REV instead of the other Discord.
I feel that's very a little
semantics.
What is it? Semantics? Yeah, pulling the little strings there. I'm like, no, that's fine. Somebody's got to win at some point.
So Ryan,
Yeah,
of the books that we've done, not putting Trevor Noah's out of it, but because of this show, where would you rank this book compared to the ones that we've done?
I need to keep a list, really. I mean, that's the thing.
So we've got Blood Over Brighthaven, Tuesdays with Morrie, the time travel one that the
Mickey 7, Dungeon Crawler Carl, Blood Over Brighthaven.
No, and there was the other one where there was she was different multi.
Yeah, I did like that one though. That was.
I thought that was very bland to me. It didn't do anything for me.
I liked it. I liked the story, like of it, how it could have.
I like the premise. Yeah. I just think the execution was very good.
Yeah, that's probably why we're trying to even remember it.
Right.
And some of them are definitely better. I mean, this one is there in like the more in the middle of the pack. I mean, for fun, the thing is, obviously, I'm still reading Dungeon because
Dungeon Crawler Carl is it. That's a special series, man. It is.
I really want to see it on screen in some way, shape, or form. It's going to be a trip of a show.
It's apparently getting animated, and it's going to be an animated TV show. So,
and it needs to be animated because it's too weird. The further I've gotten into this, there's some weird combinations.
Does the AI get weirder?
Does he get pants?
No, never. But does the AI get weirder?
A little vengeful. I mean, a little. The AI has some issues. There's a.
Is there 7 books, or did they finally release the 8th one?
I don't know. See, I'm on 5, so I know at least they're through 6, but I'd have to check after that. I figured that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing the space. I'm doing our book. Yeah. I'm doing our book, and then for here, then I read that one, and then because I'm trying not to read our book too early.
Same.
Because I want to at least remember it a little bit. So a week or 2 out, I'll work on the next one. But nope, I'll do Dungeon. I'll drop this off the library and pick up book 5. It's sitting there waiting there for me.
There you go.
These are big old books too.
Yeah, they're chunkers.
I'm like, they have time to develop a story, and because it's a new story every single time.
And then my buddy like turned me on to another lit RPG too. So it's just like, all right. But of the books that we've done, Blood Over Brighthaven. So you nailed it. That book that book is amazing.
That had a nice they hit the characters they needed to, and the world development. I mean, and you hit both of those together, then you get it, and obviously you have to get a good story. I mean, the actual script of it, but I'm agreeing. But it's just the one book, though, right? So it's not like you're continuing that. That's great. That's fine.
And that's what I like about Emma Wong. And don't like, because I love my series, but I love a good standalone, and it's the standalone. And then she also has another standalone that I haven't read yet. So it seems like she's become the queen of the standalone fantasy. And that's hard to do in the fantasy genre, to write a contained story that is only in one book, because there's so many series where it's like, okay, there's a duology, there's a trilogy, or you could be... Right. The Wheel of Time, which I think is like 14, 15 books.
Yeah,
I didn't like that show at all, by the way.
I didn't even make it out of season 1.
I could I'm with you, Ryan. I couldn't make it through season 1. I tried. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, because there's so much out there right now. I mean, and I don't have the time. I mean, I know you do the whole wrestling thing, and I don't do the wrestling thing, but that's the one that blows up the most on this thing. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Hey, guess what? You know what's gonna be blow up? Fantasy football season, and you're gonna be in that one.
I am.
on that. But yeah, no, Blood Over Brighthaven, and then Tuesdays with Morrie.
That one's really good.
That's an incredible book. Yeah, it just I don't recommend. Blood Over Brighthaven is the best book of our series that I've done, that I've read or listened to. But Tuesdays with Morrie, I would recommend that book of all the books that we've done to anyone.
That is a book that would work to give to so many people, so many types of people. I mean, some people
would appreciate it.
Yeah, and they'd appreciate it in different times of their lives and all that kind of stuff. I think I've said before. So yeah, and it's also not the largest of read either. I mean, so people can just blow through it on an afternoon sometimes, or maybe longer. But
and not to be narcissistic, but I felt like Soul picked that book because I'm a sports dude, and that's a sports writer, and she was just like, "Hey, Josh, just to kind of, this is the first book. Why don't you do this?" I was like, sure.
I told you that I picked it for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. Actually, technically 3. I read it before, so it wasn't that much of a, I was going back. But the main reason was that it's a sports writer, and it was under 200 pages, so I knew Josh could finish the book.
Yes, and and again, and as soon as I finished it, I was like, fuck you. Thank you.
Because you didn't, when I said Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, I thought you knew immediately that was the sports writer Mitch Albom. And you didn't realize.
I felt bad that I shouldn't have. And halfway through the book, I'm like, oh my God, it's this guy? I didn't realize who Mitch Albom was, just the name. No. And then as soon as I started, halfway through it, I'm like, this is really good written. I was like, let me look up Mitch. Oh, it's that guy? I knew exactly who he was. I just didn't realize his name was Mitch Albom. So
yeah, and as I said, I knew it from other areas, and because it's that important of a book, and so many people read it. But I'm like, I never read it. I'd be lying if I said I was a big reader, and they give me crap about it. You're actually reading the book and picking it up. I'm like, yes, I can take the time to read, and that was, again, I didn't get around to that one, so it was nice that was the first book, and it was only 200 pages to get into the flow of reading said books, even if it's audiobook or not. But
I did enjoy this book, as linear as it was. But I did enjoy this book because the author was really good at his writing. I really thought it was really well written for as basic as it could have been. And he got the science down very well.
Oh, yeah.
And he got the characters, like I said, the characters were lacking because he had to get the science right. So you can only do so many things.
And I would say only certain characters were lacking. Whereas the main characters, I don't find them lacking at all. I don't find Beth lacking, or Tariq or Jonathan lacking in the book.
Lucy,
who?
Yeah,
right.
Very, very
the nanny. Yes. Even though she recognized the nanny, and I'm like, who's the nanny again? What's her name? That's kind of how I felt.
To do with the story than Lucy did, and Lucy was her best friend.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't such a wuss, I would probably check out his horror, because I looked him up because there was a lot of suspenseful moments in the book, and I was like, oh, he's a horror writer. That makes sense.
I did in my mind, though, when the door was opening and heard the girl's voice or whatever. I don't know. In my head, I was hearing la 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 la. Just some scary.
You better stop right now. me and Soul are not big horror fans.
No.
Okay, for a reason.
But that's what popped in my head. I'm like,
being said, I
heard that he said the door went, and I heard the creak in the door.
Oh no, Soul, in the audiobook, when she was hearing Isabella's voice down the hallway, I was like, I'm covering my ears, but yet that's my ears that's hearing it. When she's with the doll, and then became more of a heartbreaking thing than a terrifying thing. But the way I understood why he's a horror writer, because she's like, I hear my daughter's voice down the hallway. And so she kept going, and then she saw Isabella's she's holding the doll or the bear or whatever it is, and then it disintegrates in front of her. And I'm like, oh, and then you're like, oh, he's a horror writer. I'm like, that makes sense, especially on that chapter.
But with the horror side of it, this isn't a book that really could be in his wheelhouse of doing that. I mean, yeah, you're in a lab. I mean, not the most scariest of environments, but now your own house at night or something like that. Yeah, he can ratchet it up a little bit, and that's what it probably did.
And he could have probably ratcheted it up even more in the lab, like making it a little bit more like body horror of like going into a different body or things like that with the time travel. But he didn't do that. But there was the moments, in her home or in that where I was like, his horror parts are coming out. But him writing this sci-fi and going to where it's very scientific, like I have like kind of a little bit more respect for the guy, because it seems like something that wouldn't be in a typical horror book is going this deep into the science.
Oh yeah, and he had to make the science, and then all that kind of stuff. I will say the next one we're reading, when you were talking about the standalone stuff, this one I don't think is. I think it's a 3-book series if you're going down that route. So they only read the first one, but if it's if it's something
the only time he went graphic was talking about Coulson's injuries. That's the only time he went graphic about how like Coulson's dead.
Yeah,
and the plane crash.
When you talk about her sister. Oh my God! I was like, "Are we doing Blood Over Brighthaven again?" Like when he was depicting that, I'm like, "Are we doing this again? Like, what are we doing? Like, are we doing the same book?" And then it got through it. I'm like, okay.
Or actually, it's not during that scene. It's when it was a dream of that scene, and I think he saw she saw her sister, like they're all mangled and everything. Right. So that was even more. I'm like, that ain't good. That has to be a dream.
I'm now thinking of a scene too where she was dreaming, where it's like her daughter coming into the room and it's like, "Mommy," and then it changes into her husband's voice.
Yeah, I forgot that chapter.
And it was one of those of just like, oh, that can be really creepy.
Oh no, this when you were telling me this is a horror writer, I'm like, yeah, I can see multiple facets of why this is a horror writer, and he decided to do science fiction, and it worked because he's a good writer.
And it's a good way to broaden his base of fans, I guess. I mean, maybe some people might pull into some of his other work. Not saying that I will when it comes to horror movies.
He's not Stephen King or anything like that.
That's Stephen King, but even though that movie that's coming out that's Stephen King based, the Walking One,
the Running Man.
I mean, that doesn't seem like. No,
that's a remake.
It's a bunch of. It's like a bunch of kids are having to walk down the long walk.
Or weapons or monsters or something like that.
No, they're monsters. It's just a bunch of teens having to walk down this long road, and then the military behind them. There's a preview out for it, but it's a Stephen King based movie or book.
Oh, because
the movie that one of his short stories, because I know like a lot of movies have come from his short stories. I've only ever read one Stephen King, and it was The Running Man, and it was with his pseudonym, so I didn't even know it was Stephen King. And that one's not scary.
The biggest short stories are Shawshank and Stand By Me.
I think I read like 1934 or some other one of the Kennedy assassination.
Oh yeah, 11 something 63.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's like some address. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I didn't read too many of those either. But I do admit that was a good one.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're
almost 3 hours.
The 3-hour mark. So, is there anything else you want to say about this book, Ryan, and about the book club?
Nope. I'm just thinking. I'm just wondering if I need to draft Miami Dolphins or some stuff like that. next. I don't know.
Go ahead. Not named Devon Achan. You don't know who he is. Everyone else you can draft. Yeah, draft. Tyreek Hill is he's gonna make a comeback. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. But their defense is so terrible. I'm told.
That's why he's gonna be so good, because they have to score.
They do. So no, but for this, nope. I mean, it was a good read. I mean, I'll back to the library tomorrow. I probably won't think too much after it, because it's not one of those that I think is going to stick with you. But it's fine. But I'm glad to have tried it out. And the funny thing is, it was one of my recommendations. I put 4 recommendations out, and how I did it was, all right, what are the top 5 or top 2025 books of this genre, and they're all similar genres. Like, I think any of these would be good. And this is the one that got onto the poll. I'm like, good. I mean, even though I actually think I might have preferred some of the other ones that I had on the list.
I think I put up one of the other ones in one of the polls, and I was the only one who voted for it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it, but I think that this one was I liked it too, so yeah, I voted for obviously that one. I'm like, no. I think maybe it was because of the Pompeii stuff. I'm like, I've been there. That's fine. I want to see what's
Well, anyways, thank you as always for being our one true fan that comes on.
I feel like what, Egg McMahon or something, that visiting Johnny Carson or something.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you, Ryan.
Every show needs one, and we're glad you're that one.
Mm-hmm.
I do what I can. Just don't have it like when I can't be on, like at 2 p.m. my time.
That's why we do it so late, so you can join in your afternoon.
That works. All right. Well, 7 o'clock my time, so we're good. I know it's late for you all. All right. I'll
see you.
Talk to you on the I don't know, on the fantasy stuff now.
Yeah. Nice. We're there, Ryan. We finally got there.
I know. It's actually, the draft will be before the next book club, I just realized.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. See y'all later then.
See you.
Bye.
There you go, so
well,
we did it. All 3 hours of it.
Yeah.
For those out there, like Brian was alluding to, fantasy is on the brink of awesomeness. So we will have the Fantasy F Around premiering our season debut, if you want to say that, on August 11th, I believe, of that Monday, at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. Me and Tishko were breaking down everything to get you ready for your drafts. And then the week following, we will do our drawing for our REV Fantasy League. So I myself will put all the team names in a hat and draw it out, and then me and Sol will dominate the league coming on August 25th as we do a live draft on this channel for you all for that one. And then also we still have other shows that we still do weekly, which is Rev Sports Wrap It Up every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, and then our Ruckus Wrestling, which is 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. That's right. I got all of them in my head, and I get it right. So and then on September, that's right, the first September Friday of the month. That's right. It's late, so my brain is done. So tell them when we're going to do the book club again.
September 5th.
Thank you. I was trying to do it, and my brain just shot.
So if you guys want to join the book club, if you want to be like Ryan and come on here and talk about the book, Discord link down below. It's completely free. We have a lot of fun there. We don't just talk sports. We don't just talk books. We talk all the things. We have all the fun. And I think we're going to do some hangouts soon because our our guy Drunken Prayer in Scotland is missing us. So
Yes.
we need to
We
find
are
a time.
internationally known, people.
We are internationally known. So but anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being in the chat. And this was a good time. Thanks,
Yeah.
Josh.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Boop.